All right, what up, guys? We are live. We got our Monday weekly value podcast. Hopefully, my tech shit isn't going to suck quite as much today. I think I may have even discovered the culprit. It might not be my mic or my camera. It's probably my shitty computer that Indian P gave me like 5 years ago as a gift, and I think it's just run its course. But anyway, so we got some new faces. Well, just one new face, Scotty. He's been on the channel before, but Scotty, why don't you give a quick intro anyway?
Yeah, Scotty, GLL. I guess I've been in the dating industry for 10 years or so. I just got back into it probably within the past 2 years and connected with Alex. We've just been doing some content together and shit like that, doing some coaching together. So
yeah, like when Adam22 messaged me saying he wants me to bang his wife, I was like, all right, listen, man, she's pretty hot. Why not? Fucking. And then I realized it's a different person. They look exactly alike. Like, you can't tell the difference.
I'll tell you, man, it's been crazy since the whole Adam22 thing. I think he's like blown up even more recently with the whole wife thing, because like I've had this since I was 22 years old, face tats and shit. I pretty much look the same for the most part, and I've been getting that a lot. I get it like maybe once every other day or some shit when I'm out in public.
Why don't we actually really quickly talk about this, and then we'll move on to the Travis Hunter thing. The Adam22 thing is interesting. I'll be honest, and I think I've said this publicly around like 2018.
What's the thing? What are you talking about? Just the fact that he's big, or the fact that he's doing well, or was there a specific instance that we're talking
the fact
about?
that he let some random dude bang his wife and then went super viral for it, and then just
that thing. Okay.
And then basically
he's been around for a while, man.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more to it than that. Like, he's been, so afterwards he did several more videos like that. He does videos with like 7 black dudes.
He had a contest like who's gonna, the winner gets to bang his wife.
And you see the virality dropped off because what was fake about the whole situation wasn't him feeling uneasy about it. What was fake was, what was fake about the whole situation was how he played us like he didn't have a problem with it. He never had a problem with it. And maybe that's from the way he was raised or whatever. I think a lot of us look at this and we're like, holy shit, like, how could you let some dude do that? But none of this was random. I'm starting to lean more toward what Rollo was talking about. Like, this whole thing was orchestrated. Like, I'm starting to believe that because they apparently made more money from that video than any OnlyFans video in history.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but
it sounds very well orchestrated. I mean, like, he doesn't seem like a dumb dude. I think this was fine. I think he's totally fine with it, and I think he's doing great as a result.
Well, I also like, I don't mean to shame anybody here, but like, I've never had a devil's threesome. He seems to be very comfortable filming with multiple men fucking his wife at the same time, like with him. And I think maybe he's bi-curious, and I think that may be why he's a little bit more comfortable with this. I'm not trying to insult him, but I'm just saying, like, it seems to me like, I'm just like, when I've had sex with multiple women at the same time, there's no dudes allowed. And like, he seems to be very comfortable with that. And so maybe that has a little something to do with this. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's not whereas for me, the idea of a guy touching a woman I'm even on a date with is unappealing. Would make me very angry. So I think that may be just a little bit of where the difference comes from.
Yeah, well, if you're in pornography, I just think guys get thrown into that a lot. So maybe he's used to it because he's in those positions a lot of times.
Yeah, but also a lot of male pornographic actors did gay porn before they did straight porn. Like
that's very true.
A significant number. So maybe it's like, it's something where it's like you're a little bit more bi adjacent. You're more comfortable with that. Maybe Adam's like that. And then because of that he's not as comfortable. So he's going to fake like he's uncomfortable with it when in reality he's not. I don't know what the deal is. What I do know is this. This is what I like to ask people about the Adam22 situation. Imagine, close your eyes. Imagine you have a wife that you love very much. And the way it works is this. You get to have 300 threesomes with your wife and other really hot girls. You get to fuck all of them. And in exchange, your wife has sex with one other dude and you get $10 million. No, I agree with you. I'm with you, Alex. I'm with you. But this is in his mind, this was the exchange.
Believe it or not, that actually has been done by a lot of very high profile men. Oh, sorry. Were you talking, man? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I said I would do that in a second now.
So Scotty says yes. Alex says no. I would say no, but like, I want you to consider. So like, your wife has sex with one dude, you get $10 million, and in exchange, you get to have threesomes with 300 other women. Some guys would say yes. I would say yes, but I think some guys would say yes to that. And then I think that's the way it was. I actually like Adam as a content creator. I think he's really fucking creative. I think he's really empathetic towards his guests. But this is a situation where he put himself in this place, and we're criticizing him when I think he's the one playing all of us. I think none of this bothered him ever at all.
That's what
Michael, you said. Michael, you would do it?
Pretty much.
No, I don't think I would do it. Who's got too much volume?
My logic would be that, first of all, I can have a bunch of threesomes anyway because I'm gonna set up my relationship right from the start.
Agreed.
I think Adam. I mean, fuck, I called you Adam, Scotty. I think as far as I know, you're not in a relationship right now. I think when you're not in a relationship, it's easier to like imagine this. But when you like really love someone, like I've been in a relationship for 5 years, to me, the idea of my girl getting railed by some random dude is the most unthinkable thing ever. It's like my dog just slowly being tortured to death. There's not $1 billion, $1 trillion. There's no amount of money that would make me ever do it because I love her too much, right? And just it would just tank a relationship. That
I mean, I've done it before. I've done it in my 20s before when I was dating this girl. I let this girl smash, one of my friends.
But Scotty, were you in love with her?
I mean, I was seeing her all the time. I had all the same emotional feelings and everything like that for her. So I was pretty pissed off. No, the aftermath was horrible. I broke up with her afterwards. I hated it. But for $10 million, you tap $10 million.
$10 million for heartache.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I would give up a girl for 10 million. Go have sex with him. I'd take the 10 million and then I'm just single.
Oh, no,
then I'd probably do that.
Well, at all. And this girl wasn't like, I mean, I was seeing her and stuff like that, but it wasn't like we weren't diehard boyfriend and girlfriend.
I'm not Adam 22, so I'm not gonna but me as a cisgendered heterosexual man, I would not be comfortable with my girl having sex with someone else like that. So that's just me. But I've learned, like, after being on the internet for a while, I don't judge people. Other people are different from me. So maybe he's cool with that. But I think a lot of people criticized him because of the part where he's like, yo, man, I'm not sure if I'm really comfortable with this. I think that was all made up. I think he did that to make us feel for him and then criticize him.
No, I think the real crux of the criticism was the fact that, number one, he doesn't need the money. He's already a multimillionaire. So he wasn't hungry. He wasn't thirsty. That's the first thing. So he didn't really need the money.
If he's rich, he got rich. He got rich recently, Alex. If he's rich, he got rich.
Yeah,
recently.
I don't.
It wasn't. He hasn't been rich for 10 years.
No, he was a multimillionaire before this. The podcast No Jumpers was a very, very popular podcast. 2018, 2019.
The podcast No Jumper got popular when AJ and Selena Powell went on there and started talking about you suck their dicks. He barely had 200,000 followers before that, and afterwards it exploded. The time between him becoming extremely popular and the time between him doing this video is no longer than 3 years. If he's had money, he's had money for a very short amount of time, and $10 million is a hard thing to pass up. I don't think it's got like.
Why are we talking about?
I think if you're a multimillionaire, it's a lot easier to pass it up. That's the first thing. But I think the biggest crux of the criticism wasn't even the fact that he didn't need the money. It was just the fact that it was like kind of pathetic. Like he had a pretty good dynamic actually before this, where basically they would have threesomes. They would videotape it. They would make money from it, but the threesomes would be with girls. And a lot of people just thought he was kind of like a cuck. He was whipped because he basically allowed his wife to get fucked by another guy, and then he kept going with it. I think all the money in the world doesn't make that, and I think it was a bad move ultimately career-wise. He might have made some cash, but it totally tanked his reputation. His big thing is interviewing rappers and people who are big in the hip-hop community.
That's a good point.
None of them are going to fuck with him. He totally destroyed his reputation. Reputation is one of the most important things. Your reputation makes you money in the long run. So, I mean, yeah, I think like it was a good cash grab, sure, but at the cost of probably forever fucking up his relationship. I just can't imagine they ever fully come back from this, and also fucking up his reputation, which he spent years and years building.
Alex, I never thought about that. I actually agree with you.
I think it's it's skyrocketed his popularity. It's gone up through the roof.
No, Scotty, two different things. I definitely think he's more popular because of it, and he has more money. But what Alex is saying is also true. I think there's a lot of rappers, because that's his thing. It was porn and hip hop. Those were his two hotbeds. Those were his two areas of expertise. And a lot of those rappers are not going to, and you saw some of his employees, some of the guys who worked at No Jumper were criticizing him to his face. Wow. So it is kind of an interesting thing. It's like, what are you willing to do for fame? I'll tell you this is just a sort of more of a macro discussion. I think the reward for being famous now is so much greater than it used to be, that I do believe that a lot of people are willing to do things like fuck 100 guys. I just made 2 videos on this. Lily Phillips having sex with 100 guys in 24 hours. And those videos are going ridiculously viral. And now the question is, like, it's not just that she did this, but like 100 guys. Who's guy number 97 who's like, hey, you know what? Let me put my dick in here too. Like, how do you do that mentally? Like, where are men mentally to allow that?
Scarcity.
I think it's a lot less bad, actually,
exactly.
for Lily Phillips to do it, because she didn't really have a reputation to press because she was already a porn star. So everyone so she's not like she lost respect from people.
So sorry, Alex. I'm sorry. Alex, I'm saying something different. What I mean is, OJ Simpson got offered to do a podcast. What I mean is Oliver North was a contributor on Fox News. What I mean is the Wolf of Wall Street punches his wife in the stomach, kidnaps his kid, and they write a book on him. What I mean is Donald Trump fucks a porn star while his wife is pregnant and becomes a president of the United States. What I'm telling you is when you're famous, there used to be flavors of fame. There was Hulk Hogan fame and there was Iron Sheik fame. And now there's not flavors of fame. Everything, Ivan Drago, The Rock, it doesn't matter. Like whoever the bad guy was, we think of him as a good guy. Think about how many people have talked shit about Logan Paul or Jake Paul. He just made $40 million from a fight with Mike Tyson. Think about Aiden Ross getting cheated on by his girlfriend, Neon getting cheated on by his girlfriend. Think about the Nina Agdal situation. All of those guys became more famous. Think about the situation with Stitch. Is that his name? The streamer
Stitches.
Who ended up doing a porn, like gay porn. And the guy who's a Texans fan, he plays Madden. That guy is now more famous because of all of these things happening. Like my point is in this
situation, you're talking about that guy Stitches.
No, I'm not saying. I think it's Snitch or Stitch or something. I forgot what the guy's name is. Okay. But the point is, you can be famous for like fucking anything now. Like again, nothing is better than Kim Kardashian having a sex tape and now being worth $1 billion and getting legislation passed on prison reform, standing next to the president of the United States in the Oval Office after her fame is based on her sucking Ray J's penis. That is like, there's no greater example than this. There's no good famous or bad famous. There's no infamous or famous. All of it right now, and I'm not saying this is a good thing. I think it's a terrible thing. But all of it right now counts exactly the same. The Fire Festival guy, he gets appearance fees. He's doing shows still. Like, I don't see, there was a celebrity boxing match he was in where Joe Rogan was sitting like ringside. It doesn't matter how shitty the things you are. We see Jeffrey Dahmer. Everyone dress up like Jeffrey Dahmer for Halloween. No matter the Menendez brothers, you're just famous for doing. Oh my God, Wade Wilson, the fucking Wade Wilson killer. Like all of this shit. It's like you do horrible shit, and now you're more famous. They make memes about you.
Yeah, but there's other things besides fame. Like, what if you make your family get death threats? What if you make your family like feel shame?
Austin,
aren't there things that are more important values than
Austin? I made the argument you're making is the argument I made in the beginning. I don't think it's a good thing. I'm not telling you it's a good thing. What I am is an oncologist describing cancer to you. Because I'm telling you have cancer does not mean I condone cancer. What I'm telling you is that this is how the world works now. People think that's bad. Dude, nobody got more fucking bad press than Grant Cardone when he was just like spamming people's accounts, fucking Ty Lopez. And these guys are so fucking rich now. I just don't know how. Like, what I'm trying to tell you is I'm not telling you it's good, Austin. I'm just telling you that's how the world is now. And even famous people.
There's more opportunities for people to monetize.
I'm not saying
that. That's why it's becoming more commonplace for that to happen. Whereas before, if you were just a bad person, you got a bad article in the newspaper, nobody wanted to buy your business or whatever it was. But now people have dude, you could get famous for anything, start a fucking crypto scam, turn and run, go to an island, and then you're rich. Like, it's that
dude, guys,
easy.
Remember, the Hawk to a Girl who has one of the top podcasts in the world made a clip about sucking penis.
Yeah.
Is any of that an exaggeration? Am I making any of this shit up? She made a clip that went viral about her sucking on a penis, and now she is incredibly famous. Her podcast during certain weeks definitely passed Logan Paul. It surpassed Huberman, the Huberman Labs, whatever it was. It surpassed Lex Friedman one week. That's unfucking believable. So what I'm saying is status is status now. We're in a world where there's no Iron Sheik. There's no Autobots and Decepticons anymore. There's no Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan anymore. There's no.
It's also
Rocky
crazy how
Ivan
random
Drago
that
anymore.
was, because there's so many hilarious interview clips on the internet, and that was the one that blew up. And it wasn't even her channel. It was some random channel.
It couldn't be one of the million fucking street interviews I did. It had to be like
agreed. It's just crazy. And nobody even remembers the guy who was interviewing her. Nobody even remembers the guy who's interviewing. She was pissed at him afterwards because she wanted him to take it down.
Well,
so anyway, the point is infamy.
I think I generally agree with what you said, but I think there's one other factor that's important, and that's the fact that when you're a content creator, you don't want to turn your whole audience against you. And if you do that, like, let's think of a good example. Okay, let's take the Hawk Tuo girl, right? She had a pretty decent following, right? But then she did the crypto scam, and now pretty much her whole audience has turned against her, and that she's.
I bet they don't. Well, let's make a bet on this. 3 months from now, she'll still have a super popular podcast. Most people were not involved with a crypto scam, don't know about crypto, don't even care.
Yeah, I see a lack of like consequences, like overall, like when people are like, "Fuck," like this.
What
whole,
Scotty
like,
is saying.
Yeah, this
what Scotty is saying is 100% correct.
Yeah, he always puts these videos up saying like it's over, it's over, it's over. It's not over for all these people like that are like they have dirt on somebody or they did something like the Hawk to a girl or a crypto scam. They're not done. They're far from over.
Bro, if I had a dime for every video that said Dan Bilzerian was broke, I would be rich. And Dan Bilzerian isn't broke. He just took us all to play paintball yesterday. Dan Bilzerian is the last fucking thing from broke. He flies us out on his private jet. He's not broke. It's insane. Like when I see this shit, and it doesn't matter how bad the shit is that you do, that what Scott said is exactly the truth. There are no consequences anymore. There are no consequences. The worst thing they can do to you is demonetize you.
If you know how to use it. If you know how to use it. So like Talk to a Girl found a way to make money based off of a stupid, clip that she did. Dan Bilzerian always finds a way with his audience and the things that he's doing to make money. There are some people though that just kind of give up and then they get their fame and then they run and they never get the benefits of it, but because there are more ways for you to do it, it's easier to monetize that. Like take the biggest example of someone who got their career ruined and didn't get a huge benefit from it probably was in 92, 94 with Monica Lewinsky, right? I don't think she got a huge benefit for that. But if that
disagreed. Monica Lewinsky 2 years ago just directed her own 10 episode
but it's happening
series.
Now. Back in the 90s, did she get that benefit?
No, but she wrote a book. No, because we didn't have the internet. The internet was like in 92 we started having internet. We didn't have high-speed internet until like the early 2000s. So like now she would have an incredible. Could you imagine if Monica Lewinsky after doing that had an OnlyFans? She'd be richer than Trump. Are you kidding me?
In the modern day.
Yes, that's my point.
She didn't get a benefit of it. And that's my
point. My point is
but there are exceptions to what you guys are saying. Like EDP 445, that fat black guy, he was really popping at one point, and then there was an incident. It was a really bad incident. He went to meet an underage person, and then he just completely lost his following. Hamza would be a lesser extent of that. Like he had a pretty big following. He was really growing at one point, and then he started, I guess, just turning on his audience, and he basically just went through.
Who's Hamza?
I think Hamza's still doing pretty well. He's still making $100K a month. So
but he's doing a lot worse than he was a year ago.
Oh, that's true. But
yeah, like it was him talking about how he's gonna get married, move with his girlfriend. Then the next second he's like, "Oh, we broke up." It was just like a string of little things where his audience just kind of lost respect for him. So I do think that, I generally agree with the points you guys are making, but I do think as a content creator, you can lose a lot if you just completely piss off your whole base.
It's true. Do you guys want to talk about the Travis Hunter? And
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then
by the way, I just Tyson said he would fight Logan Paul, so he'll even sell his soul and go the Muhammad Ali route. He doesn't care. He's down to fight Logan Paul for another $20 million. He doesn't give a shit. So that's another case where
Scotty, while I do agree with you, of course he will. I would fight Mike Tyson. I would fight Logan Paul for $20 million tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. I would do it, and I probably he'd be a little surprised. Like I would do it for $20 million. Of course, most of us would do it for $20 million. We can't blame Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had a negative net worth at one point. When you think about Mike Tyson, Michael Vick, and who's the other guy? Michael Vick and Allen Iverson. Those are like the three biggest we wasted all our money stories in fucking history. You might throw Antoine Walker in there too. Lost everything. Just spent every fucking penny they had. It's just one of these things where we don't recognize, because we're not in this situation where we're being offered these things for celebrity fights. Like, of course, give me $5-7 million. I'll do it, whatever. It's fine. Also, you know what the funny thing is? In the state of Texas, this is a really funny fact. They don't test for PEDs when you fight. Interesting.
Yeah, Logan Paul is definitely on some shit when that fight happened.
Interesting, isn't it? They don't test for PEDs. They test to see if you don't have HIV. But they don't test for PEDs.
Yeah, there's weird? No way Mike was taking that fight without steroids, man.
I think they're both on steroids.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, but definitely, they're definitely.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, let's move on to the Travis Hunter thing, and then we'll talk about Justin Baldoni. I'm really looking forward to talking about Justin Baldoni, but yeah, let's talk about Travis.
Okay, cool. The Travis Hunter situation, for those of you who've seen it, it's all over the internet. Recently, Des Bryant spoke out on it. The reason why this is such a unique situation, so let me set it forth, because I know a lot of your audience probably doesn't watch football. Travis Hunter, just thinking as a college athlete, he's about as good as you get. He plays cornerback and wide receiver. He's the best cornerback and arguably the best wide receiver in all of college football. He won the Bednarik Award for defense, and he won the I forgot what the guy's name is, a Biletnikoff Award for offense. He's incredible. He's going to be probably the third pick of the draft, just because the first two teams in the draft need a quarterback. And we all love it. Everything about this kid, he donates to charity. He seems like a model teammate. Everybody loes this kid. He's had a girlfriend for 5 years.
Girlfriend?
Yes, he's had a girlfriend. He's had a girlfriend for 5 years, and I'll write it down because there's so many things I can't quite remember them all. So first off, at the Heisman trophies. Okay, so the Heisman Trophy ceremony, everybody stands up to when he goes up to do his award speech, and she won't stand up. Deion Sanders, his coach, has to grab her by the shoulder and tell her to stand up. Later on, afterwards, he's taking pictures with fans backstage, and she looks annoyed that he has to take pictures with fans. In his last college game at Colorado, when he gets off the field, he goes to hug her, and she pulls her head away like she's grossed out by him. She says several times in interviews, they do live streams together, that he wasn't her type. And he said after the first 2 months, he asked her, "Am I friend zoned?" And she said, "Yes, you're friend zoned." To
be fair with the whole, because I am not familiar with the incident. She said that what she meant was that he was too young for her because he was in high school.
No, agreed. To say what, but the point is that leads to my next point, which is the same situation with the Nina Ogdal and Logan Paul situation. Nina Ogdal is more sophisticated than Logan Paul. And that's what's going on here. She's more sophisticated than him. Then what happens is during the relationship, she also gets on her ring finger, she gets a tattoo of a money sign on there. It turns out there's evidence that she was a stripper previously. She has found an old OnlyFans account for her, and then also there's this website. The OnlyFans site. Well, I've seen the OnlyFans site. It definitely looks like her. I mean, I can't say 100%, but let's put all of these pieces of circumstantial stuff into context. Okay. Then there's a celebrity website where they spoof celebrity messages her. She messages back. So she got caught cheating for doing that. Then she goes on Anthony Edwards. He's the point guard for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he leaves heart eye emojis on one of her photos while she's dating Travis Hunter. It takes her about an hour. People screenshot it, and then she takes it down. Then it finds out 3 years ago that she was in a music video with another dude, and she's like grinding on this dude from behind. And then the one that caused her and Travis Hunter to take their social media down was a couple of days ago. A video came out. Well, two things happened. Travis Hunter and her admitted Travis would take her to parties and then wait outside while she went inside the party because he didn't want to drink and go to the parties. There's a video of her. It's clearly her. There's a picture of her beforehand. You can see her in a schoolgirl outfit. You can see tattoos that very clearly identify who she is. There's a video of her bent over, grinding on another man at a party that Travis Hunter drove her to, waited for her, and then came back. Okay. So the thing is, the reason why this story is so interesting is not because his girlfriend is, playing him. This happens all the time. That's not the issue. The difference between this story, the thing that makes this story so unique to me, is when you hear Little Bow Wow, or if you hear Des Bryant, or if you hear Le'Veon Bell, or if you hear all these other people talking about it, they're telling Travis Hunter to leave this girl because we all genuinely love the guy. Like, really. This is not like the Logan Paul situation where a bunch of people wanted to see him fail, or the situation with with Neon where everyone was laughing at him and telling him how stupid he is. People are like, listen, you're a young African-American kid. You're about to get a ton of money, and this woman is about to ruin your life. And we see, you're special. Like, you're the future of the league. And you see all these guys like, hey, bro, I'm telling you this. It's nothing but love. It's a very different situation because people love Travis Hunter and they don't want to see him go down this path. People are calling him cuck, simp, whatever, but it's not the same thing. It's not vitriolic. It's not hateful. It's just like, hey, bro, we're trying to save you. And I think that makes this extremely unique situation compared to other ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lesson there is pretty simple, though. All the fame, all the money in the world doesn't mean shit if you're a simp or if you don't have boundaries or if you don't have a game. I mean, that's really what the lesson is here.
Also, the sophistication of men.
Go ahead.
The other thing is women mature earlier than men. Women at a younger age are going to get more attention from men than the other way around. They're more sophisticated. They have more advanced technology as far as manipulating men than the other way around when you're in your early 20s. So this guy has just imagine you're as famous as Travis Hunter. You've had one girl for 5 years. from the time you were 19 to the time that you're 24 years old. You have very little experience with women in general, and you're about to get a 30, maybe not 30, maybe 22, $25 million signing bonus as a rookie, being the third pick in the draft. Like, it's going to be unbelievable what ends up like this transition.
Yeah, he just has because no boundaries. That's
well, he has no experience. Alex, he has no experience. He doesn't have the technology. He doesn't have, he's not sophisticated enough.
I mean, I feel like when I was like 21, 22, getting into my first relationship, I still had boundaries. Like, some of these things seem like, man, but some of them seem like pretty blatant disrespect. Like the whole someone DM'd her, that is true, and she was flirting back with them. Like, yeah, that would be just like any guy who has boundaries would just be like,
no, not if it was his first girlfriend. Maybe he lost his virginity to this girl. Maybe it's his first girlfriend. I did stupid shit like that too. My first
better than 50% chance.
Yeah. So
she
Alex
just seems like a young girl being a stupid young girl. That's what it sounds like to me. It doesn't sound.
Yeah, but she's older than him.
Well, how much older are we talking about? Like, how old are
they were started dating when he was in high school, and so basically she friend zoned him when he was in high school, and then when she saw that he was the number one college recruit in the entire United States of America, and then he went to Jackson State, then all of a sudden they became official.
Well, it could be also that because he's such a simp that she friend zoned him initially. Like, that could also be part of it.
She took the Brittany Renner playbook, right? I mean, isn't that?
Well, this is exactly Brittany Renner. This is exactly Brittany Renner, and I feel the same way. I feel the same way from PJ Washington.
She wrote a book on the whole fucking thing. How to do
it. But Brittany Renner's proud of what she did. But Brittany Renner also has narcissistic personality disorder, and she's bipolar. Not bipolar. She has borderline personality disorder. It's a little different. But in this situation, it's like, this girl, she's out there constantly trying to defend herself. She's talking about it all the time. She's doing all these. She did an 8-minute video on TikTok trying to defend herself, and she just made the situation worse because she can't answer for what she did. But here's the problem: as soon as that video comes out of her grinding on that dude, they both deactivate their social media accounts. Because one of the problems that I see, and this is something that happens whenever you have a friend who has a problem with porn, prostitution, a drug addict, they've just been lying about something they're doing, you have to give them a way out. If you don't give them a way out, then the only thing they can do is shut down. And in his situation, this is so bad. Like, what can he can't just dump her. It's like, that's the problem. He can't just dump her. That was a situation with the Nina Agdal situation with Logan Paul. Logan Paul, what he needed to do was break up with this girl. Hey, she's one of many. I can have experiences with lots of beautiful women like her. She's just going to be a fun time. But instead, Nina Agdal makes her wait while Nina Agdal fucks Diplo the first night she meets him. And so in these situations, it's one of these situations where it's just like, he doesn't have the sophistication to keep up with her. She knows what she's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. And now what was he supposed to do? He's just like, hey, guess what? Your girlfriend's cheating on her. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to say, Scotty and Alex. Travis Hunter didn't know about the stripper thing, the OnlyFans thing, didn't know about any of the stuff other than the music video before everyone went and dug up all this information on his girlfriend. He didn't know.
This story is not surprising though. It's just like a rich, famous guy who may be a good guy, but who's just a simp.
Yeah, I guess I'm struggling to see what the news, what makes this newsworthy. I mean, it sounds like the average thing that happens to a lot of guys that get with a woman who, maybe is a bit older, but has had more experience. She's partied a lot more. She's been with a lot more guys. I'm not seeing anything out of the ordinary that she's doing that a lot of women do.
Yeah, I agree.
In my opinion,
it debunks the whole like Andrew Tate thing, that status is the most important thing to get girls. Like, it just, I don't know. It obviously game is trumps all this shit. You have to know
Scotty, self-respect and boundaries.
Yeah,
Scotty,
I think you should figure it out. I think you should learn how to deal with women like this, obviously. But it takes time. Being single for a little bit would help him.
These two things are different. I think status did attract women to him. Like if Travis Hunter became single, the line would form to the left of women trying to get with him. That's not the issue. Status does attract women. I think the difference is boundaries keeps them.
Yeah.
Having a boundary to maintain for both of us in the relationship, a healthy boundary for us to maintain a healthy relationship. That's what keeps the relationship. But status will get you in the door and possibly get you sex.
Which is under the umbrella of game. So like boundaries, game, it's kind of like under the same thing. So if you get that down pat, I'm sure, you're not going to get walked over by some fucking girl. So he could have all the status he wants. It's just going to keep happening over and over and over.
Sure,
again.
Of course. I mean, we saw the same thing with Jeff Bezos. Like, Jeff Bezos is clearly choosing wrong with his new girlfriend. She's clearly in it for the wrong reasons, and he can't see. And the problem is, the more, as a man, if you have ego, if you have pride, the more people tell you this stuff, oh, something's wrong with your girl, the more you like bow your back up and you're like, no, I'm not. It's because it's such a hit to your ego and that you don't want to listen. That's why you have to give them a way out. Seriously, it's why you
What's
have
a way
to, whenever
that they
you have
can give them out.
Some of the most successful people on this planet are the biggest simps.
Of course. Lloyd, I mean, for him to give him a way out, like, it would have been like her not going online or on TikTok is what made this really bad. Her apologizing would have put this away, but because she denied that she ever did anything wrong, or she said, no, that's not a problem, that's stuff I did in my past, she opened up Pandora's box, and then now the entire internet started to investigate her, and that's where we get into worse and worse situation.
I would argue though, I do think that, like, I don't think that their relationship should be this public. I understand why it is, but I've never been like a big fan of that. Like, I think the only person who needs to apologize to is him. Like, I don't really feel like she needs to apologize to the internet, right?
Yeah. Well, I think this might be a lesson for guys who are watching. You know, if you do become a man who has a high status, who is in this position, who is with a woman who is not the best one for you, to be honest, a lot of the stuff that she did definitely sounds like stuff that you probably wouldn't want in an ideal girlfriend. I don't think it's unusual for a woman at her age, who's young, who's partying all the time, to do the shit that she's done. I don't think it's unusual, but probably not the best for a girlfriend. I personally think, and this is my opinion, doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be like what everybody should do, but I think most men should spend some time while they are single before they get into a relationship like this, build up some status, learn how women could possibly be manipulating you, learn about their behavior, get adjusted to that, and then get into a relationship so you can make the correct decision. But some guys get in it too young, and I think that's why when people get into relationships or they get married before the age of 30, the divorce rate is like, it's crazy high. It's like higher than 70%.
It is pretty high. Yeah.
The older you are. Let's answer this question because you've been waiting for a while. How important is frame control to building attraction? I've heard other coaches' podcasts claim it's the most important thing. How important is frame control building attraction? I think it's important. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all. First of all, I think we need to be clear on what the definition of frame control is.
Yeah, let's define it.
The way I've always looked at frame control is the ability to get other people who have a different reality to basically adopt your reality, your way of looking at things. So, for example, the girl thinks that you shouldn't have sex until a third date. You believe that it's okay to have sex on the first date. So you get her to come around to your worldview and your belief. That's frame control in a nutshell. So I think that is good. That is important. But sometimes you do meet a girl who's like actually looking for the same thing as you, in which case, and you guys are on the same page, in which case frame control really isn't necessary. So I think it is important, but I think also there's this, I don't know if this happens with you guys, but sometimes like when I don't know, have like not a fight, but like whatever, have like a discussion with my friends or a debate or something like that, like a mini fight, they'll say, wait, are you trying to frame control me right now? Right. And I'm like, no, I don't like use frame control. I'm like my friends or like,
I've seen that.
And so, it's like, but there are some people who really do that. They use frame control on like their fucking wife or their best friends.
Yeah, I think frame control is sometimes there are coaches, and I'm not saying any of you guys are doing this, but I've seen some who are a little bit too obsessed with frame control. They talk about it all the time. Yeah. And what they do, what I've noticed is that they're always using it in reference to the woman that they're talking to. It's always about, does she have my frame or am I in frame? It's always, if you focus on the woman too much, you will inevitably fuck this up. What you should be doing when you're on a date or when you're talking to somebody is if this woman actually fits in your life, if you actually enjoy being around her, if you actually are able to lead the process. Those things are more important, I think, than focusing on, am I in frame or is she in my frame? I think once you get caught in those games, you're actually in, even if you win the battle, overall, you're thinking about a very small piece of the puzzle. That's what I think.
Okay, I do want to say this one thing. One of the problems that I have, and this is just a function of marketing and coaching, the most important thing, one of the problems most guys, when they come into this space and they're having trouble with women, is that because they can't see nuance, everything is binary, black and white, very Aspie, very Aspergery. The most important thing, frame control. If a guy's really famous, then what happens is his status actually frame controls the girl. It does absolutely nothing to do it. For instance, Michael Jordan walked into a room and women become attracted to him. He didn't frame control those women. So it's like, it's one of these things where it's like, I could make the argument that status is now the most important thing. I could also make the argument that if I use pre-selection, then that would frame control the girl into believing I was more attractive than I actually was. I'm really concerned a lot. I don't mind him asking this question. I get concerned when guys are in this space and they ask questions like this and talk about the most important thing or the only thing you need, because in reality, the guys who are incredibly good with women have nuance. They know how to zig and zag at the right time. They know how to defeat the coverage. They know how to throw the ball against cover 2, cover 4, cover 3. They've seen all the blitz packages. They have experience, and not one thing is going to work every time. So the answer is frame control is definitely important. Is it the most important thing? I would tell you being famous will trump frame control. Having pre-selection will trump frame control. But then your counter would be, well, isn't pre-selection and social proof, isn't that frame control? And the answer to that would be yes, it is. So there's your answer.
Yeah. If you build up yourself and be an attractive guy and do the right things, you probably won't have to worry about frame control as much as a guy who's struggling with that sort of stuff. He's always going to be worrying about it because he feels like he never has it.
I don't think like on a date, like guys who get laid are ever sitting there and thinking like, okay, am I frame controlling her right now?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It usually all happens on a subconscious level. It's all subconscious, and it really just comes down to how confident are you in your set of beliefs. That's a huge part of it. How good of a communicator are you? But
I was never really big on using that word, to be honest with you. I don't like tell students to like, yo, your frame's garbage. I just don't use that word for whatever reason. I'm not saying it doesn't have a place, but I just never was big on using the word frame.
Yeah, I agree with that, Scotty. And I agree with also Michael, too. Like, I think it's stressing about the things that are not as important that are actually going to get you results.
The point
what will happen is the guy will say,
you don't want to just consciously be like sitting there while you're talking to a girl thinking about frame. Like this all happens on a subconscious level. You can afterwards maybe analyze it through that lens, but just like I'm just getting an image of a guy who's like on a date with a hot girl and he's like a little nervous. He's probably sweating through his shirt and he's like, okay, fuck. She asked me what is my favorite drink, and I just gave her the answer right away. Am I in her frame now?
I'm in her frame now. Yes. No, the other one is like, what about this one? If frame control is the most important thing, so don't dress well. Frame importance is the most important thing, so don't brush my teeth or don't shower. Frame control is the most get that. I'm not a simp. Yeah. Frame control is like, if I pay these hoes on OnlyFans, as long as I control their frame, yeah. This is my problem. It's like the problem is these guys want these one sentence answers for like probably the most desirable trait that most men can have. Next to being able to make money is probably being able to attract women at will. And so if there were one sentence answers to these questions, every guy would be able to do it. These are complicated things that require nuance. I do think frame control is important. My point is what this guy's asking is, can I just learn the frame control trick, the frame control sentences that I can say to ultimately infinite frame control every woman I see and to get infinite vagina from it and not work on myself as a person? That's what I hear in the question. That's why I don't like this.
Yeah.
And also any principle of game taken to its extreme is usually bad, which we saw last week with the Lucario thing, where it's just like compliance taken to the extreme. So, and I would even say, Michael, that that women are more important because most of what men do for money is actually they're doing it to attract women, right? To attract resources to get the women. And I was curious to ask you guys this: have you ever had students that are like elite bodybuilders who like once you teach them game, they like stop caring as much about the gym, or like guys that are like super like extremely like into business and like making a shit ton of money, and then they realize like, fuck, I'm like overemphasizing this, and they kind of like slow down on that and they focus more on game or dating?
I competed in the nationals, teenage nationals. I did like 4 bodybuilding shows. I really started to. I still took gear and stuff and still worked out, but I really cut back significantly once I started gaming. Like I basically stopped bodybuilding at that point. You know, after the teen nationals and shit like that, it was just it was secondary for sure. But I built up a big enough frame where I didn't need to even like. I have such good muscle memory. I could start training like twice a week, and I'll blow up really quickly. No, I don't.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of this thing that Tony Robbins talks about, where he's like, there's only 6 human needs, and a lot of things that you do are a vehicle to meet those needs. And when you find out that there's like a more efficient vehicle to meet those needs, you're just going to take the more efficient vehicle. So it's like some people think, bodybuilding is the reason why they're doing it is because you probably at a subconscious level, you wanted to attract love and connection, either from, girls and like, friendships with guys and stuff. And then when you realize like you were kind of overemphasizing that too much, and you realize like game is a more efficient way to get those needs met, then you care less about it and you put less energy into it. You're always trying to conserve energy. So
they're like, if I could just walk up and be charismatic and win her over that way, I'm wearing a shirt. I don't even need a fucking six pack. Like, this is useless. You know, I could be spending more time out and talking to girls.
Do you guys know Zach Justice?
No.
Oh my god, dude! This guy is like he does a lot of these like date videos where he does like first dates with like there's like a white background. He just has girls come on and he's just like he is the most like non-try hard guy that is super like elite level of game and bantering that I've ever seen.
Is he a comedian?
He's a comedian and he does like I don't know if he does acting, but he's just like super witty and like himself. And he does a lot of things that guys on paper would be like, Andrew Tate wouldn't do that. Why is he doing that? You know, like he does a lot of things that are like not super high status, things that are not super like, you know, frame control and this type of stuff. But because he just doesn't give a fuck in his communication, he's insanely attractive. I think one week, maybe next week, or if you guys want to throw on one now, we could like analyze it maybe at the end of this stream. It's just like,
no, I think I know what you're talking about. Is that the guy where like they'll be like, what would you do? Like, how would you win me over? And he'd be like, I'd gaslight you until you like couldn't stop checking your phone. So yeah, he's doing extreme amounts of disqualification. And I think it works with, so like, here's the thing. I saw this a lot with, like take Russell Brand, for instance. Russell Brand, you couldn't find a more charismatic guy in an interview than Russell Brand when he was on drugs 10 years ago, right? That guy had more charisma than anybody. Part of the reason why he was so good was because there was an audience. I've noticed women act way different, and you've seen this too. I'm sure you guys have all seen this when you're on camera and there's an audience. And so the way that they react is that they actually react more positively to ridiculous statements and you fucking being totally on it and with it. And so when they're in that context, I believe those guys are extremely charismatic, but I'm not so sure that they would do as well if it was a normal date at a nice restaurant.
Well, here's the other part about what you just said, Austen. Is that if he has success with women and does something I've never seen before, I don't tell him, fuck you, that's not what Andrew Tate would do, right? That's the problem. It's like when guys have success doing different things, remember what I said before about nuance? It's like with Black Pill, it must be looks, right? Other guys, it must only be game. It's like, no, all these things, if you were to take a pull, like you pull a girl and you fuck her, there's a percentage that each one of these baskets go into. Where like she's physically attracted to you this much percentage, you made her laugh this much percentage, your apartment happened to be next to the nightclub, so you had really logistics, that's this much percent. There's all these different things that add up to the 100% that equal the pull. And if someone does something that I don't do, I don't criticize them. You know what I'm saying? Like you can still respect. The problem is in this space, if someone does something that you don't recognize as popular, it's like the same thing with Lucario last week. You know, respect to Lucario. I love the dude, but like for him acting like, hey, Lucario, but what about me and Marcus? We actually do fuck women. So like me, Austen, we fuck women. Is it just make believe that you guys are chasing? But I'm just saying. But I'm saying is like if we fuck women, is it just make believe? Like I don't understand. Like because what he's saying is our way is the only way. That's what he said in the first debate. Later on at the end of the debate, they started saying, "Hey, we all have our different way of doing things." I've always been in favor of people expressing different ways of doing things. Pickup is fun. That's why I did it for a long time because it was fun.
Bro,
I find social circles to be more efficient. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It doesn't count, bro. The girls are hot. They got at least 200 pounds for it to count. I'm kidding, sort of.
That's terrible.
Austen, what was the guy's name again that you mentioned?
I posted it. Zach Justice.
Okay, cool.
Zach Justice.
This is an interesting question. Now we're going from what's it called? TMZ to now we're talking about ethical.
Well, if we talk about Justin Baldoni, we might be going back to TMZ.
I'll just speak out of my ass and talk about the first things that come to my head. But basically, I think if you leave women better than you found them, which is like an OG principle of game, I don't think it's unethical to have sex. I don't think it's unethical.
How does make them better though? Like I'm confused. Is that like
that's so terrible? Don't say things like that.
Don't say things.
But
like that.
Also, I think one of the most interesting things I've learned is that women that have had sex with like a couple guys and then they get into a marriage are more likely to feel like that marriage is better because they've already tested a few guys to compare it to. But women that get into a marriage as virgins, they don't have anything to compare it to, so they feel like they may have missed out. And I think that's another element of it. And if you just make the engagement like win-win, Like if I bang a girl, if I start seeing a girl too, it's just like I just transform her life. Like there are girls now that like still thank me to this day. I got them reading books. I got them into like proper nutrition. I got them into working out.
Like, reading classes.
I got these bitches to read.
The letters
Even my girlfriend, like my current
my name is Austen. I got these
like,
bitches to read.
I got a reverse osmosis system in her house now. Like her just every part of their life gets better after meeting me. So it would be unethical for me not to meet them. That's kind of how I view it in my own mind.
Yeah, the herpes is just a happy bonus.
No, Austin brings up a good point. There is a little bit of a dichotomy, but I agree. It's how you handle it and who you are as a person. Like, let's take this to the extreme example. I don't think any woman who casually hooked up with like Brad Pitt is like, oh my God, I so regretted that. I wish I had never hooked up with him. No, if she has the opportunity to get with a guy who is, as Michael would probably point, is high status or someone who's cool, yeah, then it's totally a bonus. But I don't think she's probably going to tell her husband about that. I think she's probably going to keep that to herself.
Thank you, bro.
Also, if you're casually dating, that's how you explore if there's natural chemistry in the interaction. And if you're having sex, that's how you understand if there's sexual chemistry.
Yeah,
I don't like the idea of.
I mean, you can't predict the future. You don't know if it's going to be like a long-term, short-term thing. You got to feel that out. You know.
But I think there's like a efficient frontier again. There's like that sweet spot where it's like you have enough sex and you've spent time with enough people to understand what you like in a relationship, what type of women you're more likely going to resonate with, and then what type of women you want to have sex with, and then them as well exploring that for themselves. I think, going down the line of like dozens, like it's so funny because if I tell how many girls I've had sex with to normal people, they think I'm fucking weird. It's like disgusting. It's weird. It shows maybe a sign of low self-esteem.
That's pretty weird that you're still a virgin at this age.
But no, think about it. It's like the average person when you tell them how many people you have sex with, they're like disturbed. It's like not a positive thing at all. Yeah, and then when you tell, like in the pickup community, if you talk about how much you've had sex with, they're like, bro, why aren't you in like the quintuple digits now? It's like,
yeah.
It's like there is a sweet spot. I don't know what it would be. Maybe like 5, 6, 10, 11. I don't know.
Before what?
It depends on where you live.
Before what?
For women?
I think for women and men, there's a decent amount of experiences that you should have to get a sufficient understanding of like, dynamics in a relationship, dynamics in sex, seeing what you resonate with, what you don't resonate with, so you don't rush into something prematurely. But I think just like more and more sex isn't the answer. There's deeper issues for most people if you're pursuing a lot of sex.
I think there might be an assumption there that this guy's asking the question because in the future he wants to get into a serious relationship. But the question is just asking, what are the ethics of casual dating and is that okay and good? Maybe he just wants to stay there. Maybe he's comfortable staying there.
If you look at ethics as the underlying force behind like creating a good society, I think like a good amount would be like if everyone just fucked like 5 to 10 people. Like if you think about like what's it called, the veil of ignorance, if you say like anyone behind this veil of ignorance does the exact same thing and then you expand that at large, would it make sense universally if every person had sex with 500 people? Like no, it's so much time. Like we need people to make families so that we can increase shareholder value.
That was Brave New World. If you read the book Brave New World, that's what he talks about. They just have sex with anybody they want, and then babies were all made in factories. Going back to what he was saying, part of this question though that I think we're missing is that the ethics of casual dating and sex, meaning like you being. I had a guy come on a Twitter space with me one time, and he explained to me every girl you have sex with always wants a relationship, and I was like, that's not true. And he argued about this for a while, and so I think one of the things you have to understand. One of the things you have to understand, Mark, is that some women you will choose. Like, there's going to be a girl, and it's like, hey, man, for ethical reasons, I've chosen to not have sex with this girl, and she's just going to go fuck some other dude the next day. And you feel like you've helped the world ethically by not doing it. But the reality is, a lot of women like to have a lot of sex. Not most women. Like most women are not in the 100 body count, whatever. Depending on who you listen to, but like a lot of women they'll have a phase in their life where they just want sex. So if they want sex and they offer it to me. This is one of the things, because Austen, you're bringing up a great point, but I want you to consider this. Austen, what if you just had a lifestyle where you weren't really trying to sleep with a lot of women, but you were just so attractive to a lot of women that wanted to have sex with you, and consistently attractive women were trying to have sex with you, and you ended up sleeping with a lot of women? Is that unethical? Is that unhealthy? If all of a sudden you were on a TV show.
I think it's good for a phase, but I think that like
you're not searching
to bring
for
up
it.
Like what Andrew would that Christian guy would say. He said there's like an ought too. It's like, yes, there is a natural purpose to exploring and having that phase where you're meeting a lot of people, and that the purpose of that is to find someone to have a family with. Like,
sure,
I think it's okay to a certain extent, but I think if you take that to its extreme, it's also it is unethical in one sense.
I
think that you're like depriving society.
Yeah, I think
unhealthy.
Not cut out to be parents, and those people probably should not have kids if you're not cut out to be.
And
parents.
they probably are all on this fucking show right now.
I don't know. But,
realistically,
I think the answer to this question is actually pretty easy. Just don't lie. Be generally honest. I think white lies are okay. Like you're 10 minutes late because you have bad diarrhea. Like you don't have to tell her that. You can just say like you hit traffic. But like with girls, you're welcome.
Alex has used that one.
We're not gonna have sex tonight, are we? And you give her like a cheeky answer. Of course not. I would never do that. Like that's fine. But telling hard lies, meaning like here's a litmus test I always give: is after you fuck the girl, you're laying in bed and you tell her you lied about this thing, will she get pissed off? So for example, if you lie about being single, she will get pissed off. If you lie about your job, you might get pissed off. But if you lie about why you were late, or if you lie about something like embarrassing, then she probably won't be pissed. So I think the misconception is some guys think that, inherently women cannot want casual sex. So therefore, anytime I have casual sex with a woman, I'm causing some kind of harm, which is not the case. I think if you're transparent and honest, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a shitload of casual sex, and there's going to be a good amount of girls who are going to be down for it, at least at one point in their life or another.
Yeah, because those white knights are buying everything the women say, hook, line, and sinker.
Speaking of white knights, when we get to Justin Baldini.
Speaking of white knights, I think the biggest thing here is, we'll get to that in a second. I think the biggest thing here is expectations, and the two ways that I see guys mess this up, or the way women get really upset and hurt, is number one, the guy lies about his relationship status, or lies about the fact that they potentially will get into a relationship in the future. If she goes in and sleeps with you and thinks she's going to get a boyfriend out of this or a husband out of this, and then she finds out you're fucking 9 other women, she's going to be really upset. The second reason why I noticed that why women get upset about this is if she goes in thinking that you're this kind of dude who's up here, who's awesome, really attractive guy, and you end up not being that guy. Let's say she thinks you're Kevin Costner and you end up being a janitor, that would probably piss her off a lot, right? So expectations are really important. If she knows what she's getting into and she gets into it, I see absolutely no issues. And you can have experiences like the ones that Austin's had. I've had plenty of women reach out to me that I hooked up with that knew that that's what was happening, and they benefited tremendously from it. But I've also had women where I've messed that up with.
I think we have to make an argument to the guys who don't give a shit, and they're like, they don't care if they make the girl feel bad. And the argument to them would be that it's in your best interest to be honest with a girl.
Women talk.
It's in your own best interest to do that. So even if you're completely selfish, it's still in your best interest. You should still be relatively honest and transparent.
It's not only in your best interest, it's actually more effective. It's like when I've had several situations where, I'll be with a girl and I'll be like, hey, I'm not really interested in a relationship unless you want to see other women with me. And if you don't, then that's totally fine. And I'm like, they can very clearly see I'm ready to move on. I'm ready. Like, this is not something you're looking for. And what usually happens is they stay. And it's one of these things where me being honest, now we're both coming from a place of honesty. The question you asked about thoughts on ethics and casual dating, the ethical part of it is the lying. Like you said before, it's the lying. Like what Alex said, as long as you tell the truth, that's not casual dating though. I think what happens is for a lot of guys are like, well, I'm casually dating several women. And because of what church and my mommy told me, all women want relationships when you put your wiener inside of them. Therefore, I must be lying to all the women by having casual sex with multiple women because that's what I learned in Sunday school. That's the problem. No, you can have casual sex with multiple women if you're honest about it. The ethical question is not sex or casual sex. The ethical question is lying.
Yeah, that stuff is all.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. It's not the only thing with casual sex or dating. There's also like consent. There's also like the intentions that you have. There's also like, I think one thing,
if you're falsifying your intentions, then that would be lying.
Not wasting people's time is very
again, that would
too.
Right, but that would be lying. Like there's a study Dr. Buss does. They ask men, how many of you have lied in order to try? You've lied about being willing to have a long-term relationship with a woman in order to get short-term sexual access. 71% of the men he surveyed said they had. And when they asked women, how many of you have been lied to by a man who said that they wanted long-term relationship, but really they just wanted a sex? And 93% of the women said that they had experienced that.
Yeah, it's very
so. Yes, it's something.
Yeah, but not saying, "Hey, I want a long-term relationship." But if you're dating a girl casually and she's like, she really wants a relationship, but you're really not going to give it to her, like at some point, I feel like it would be the ethical thing to do to just have a heart-to-heart with her and be like, "Listen, I don't want to waste your time." Like, especially girls like late 20s, early 30s, whatever. It's like, listen, if you want to have a family, I'm not going to be the guy for you. So having a conversation like that, I think, is actually pretty important.
Yeah, you should. I always recommend that guys check in with the girl they're seeing, like, hey, how do you feel like things are going between us? What kind of things are you looking for, right? Asking questions like that. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, I think it's fine. I think we're good. And then you've opened the door. She can open it again if she wants to and have that conversation. But I find that women can sometimes assume things and they wait for the guy to bring it up. So I think it's good to bring it up every now and then, not at the very beginning, but like, a couple months in. You have that conversation.
I think ethics are somewhat subjective. So for some people, it might be unethical to do anything short of like just being very upfront. Hey, by the way, like on the first date, I'm not looking for a relationship. It's not going to happen. Versus for some people, they're kind of taking more of the middle approach. Like, yeah, I won't lie to the girl. I won't like lead her on, but I'm not going to like go out of my way to tell her that we're not going to be dating. So I think there's like a middle ground there probably.
Yeah. Cool. Want to move on?
Yeah. I guess kind of we're on the topic of relationships now. There's this interesting thing that Tony Robbins brought up at the Date with Destiny. He pulled up this video and it was like all these people talking about their relationships, and it was like people in their 80s, 90s, 100s. Like they're just really old people talking about their relationship. And they asked a lot of them like what were some of the keys to it. And one of them, I think, if not the most commonality, like the biggest commonality they all shared, was they made their partner the most important part of their life. They said they put it over their kids, over their work, over like everything. They basically made their partner their like, the most important thing of their life, which is interesting because in a pickup and also in Red Pill and all this, weird stuff, they tell you, Don't make the girl your number one. Always got to be business, be on your purpose, blah, 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 blah. Yep. But when you look at people that are actually in successful relationships long-term, their partner is like the most important thing. So I'm kind of curious what your guys' take is on this. And also Tony Robbins, he had this like 6-part thing. It was like the relationship that is like he positioned as the ideal was when your partner's needs are your needs. Like when your girlfriend, you care about her so much that her needs are your needs. Like if she's hurting, you're hurting. If that kind of thing. So I'm curious what you guys think about this.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I
also want to preface one more thing is that because a lot of people in the pickup industry that are just like that aren't in relationships, they're just kind of like casually seeing, they've taken a certain approach that's very effective at getting girls to be attracted to them and to attract a large number of women, but they're not really taking the approach, in my opinion, that is for having the best relationship. But I don't know. Well, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are.
So I've thought about this a lot. So I'm actually glad that you brought that up because you do hear people say that consistently all the time, where they say, she's my number one, or he's my number one. Yeah, thanks, man. And basically, it still fits in with what a lot of guys are talking about. So in my coaching program, I always say that if you have a girlfriend or if you have someone that you're dating, she is the 4th most important thing in your life. The things that come before then, number 1 is you and your health. Number 2 is your career. Number 3 is going to be your family. And then number 4 is her. Now, if you get married, then she gets upgraded to family. And I do agree that the relationship between the man and the woman is actually more important than, so a lot of women you'll see like, oh, we have to put the kids first, put the kids above everything. No, if the relationship between the husband and wife is fraught, the kids are going to suffer more. The same thing where if the husband gets fired from his job, the relationship is going to end. It might not end right then and there, but the clock is ticking unless you get a new job, right? This is the number one reason why women divorce men, and they divorce men 2 out of the 3 times. Actually, it's even higher than that. It's almost 3 out of 4 times that they divorce men. So you have
just to be clear, women are 3 out of 4 times initiating divorce, but doesn't
initiating the divorce. Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
And then for your health, if you have to put your health first above all of those things, because if you're dead, you can't provide it, you can't be a part of the relationship. So I think when they're putting it first, when people say that, they're saying it because they're saying, hey, this is a really, really, really important thing. But if you don't prioritize those things, at the end of the day, that will hurt the relationship. So I'm going to work every single day, 8 hours. I'm not spending 8 hours a day with my wife because she needs it. I think everybody understands that innately. But when you hear it in like a Tony Robbins thing, it's a lot more. People are going to clap. It's more of an applause break. It's a bit more painful.
Yeah,
I think that's why they do it.
It seems like I want to go to a Tony Robbins seminar and I want my wife to approve it. He needs to say bullshit like that. I think that's the way to say it.
Lloyd,
but at the end of the day, those things that I mentioned are for the relationship. Sorry, Alex, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just going to say, I used to kind of think like that maybe 3-4 years ago. Now I would say that my family, my career, my girlfriend are all at like kind of tied for number 1. They're all like highest level of priority.
But what do you spend the most time doing?
I mean, I spend a lot of time with my girlfriend. I spend a lot of time working. Sometimes my girlfriend helps me with work. So I don't know.
I don't know about you, but I think most people on this call spend most of their time on their career. Most of their time.
Hold on. What does playing Madden have to do with any of this? I don't understand. I don't understand what that has to do with any of the things we're talking about here.
Here's the counter argument is that if my girlfriend told me that her number 1 focus was career instead of me, I would be pretty pissed.
I was so I brought up this conversation with my girlfriend just from I was just fresh off of the Date with Destiny thing, and I was curious because I was going through the book. I was like, would it be weird to you if you were my number 1 focus? Like that's what they're telling us in this event is like what we should do. And she goes, would you like it if I told you that you were my number 1 focus? And I was like, yeah, of course. And she was like, I feel the exact same. Like she was like, I wouldn't look at you as less than if you focus more on me than on other things. I would actually love that.
You can have your relationship be top priority, but still have boundaries.
Yeah, I also think there's a big caveat there where it's like in game you're taught to not like supplicate to girls, just be like in reaction to everything she does. So there is that caveat where it's like you don't need to be in reaction, but you want to be doing things that show her that she's like an extremely important part of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't wake up in the morning and I look at my girlfriend and I'm like, hey, what do you want to do today, babe? And she's like, well, don't you have to work? I'm like, fuck work. I've decided you're my number 1 priority and I'm going to do whatever you want to do today. No, I get up, I say good morning to her. I do my work. We talk afterwards. I take her on date nights every single week, and if I'm working too much, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time I take my girlfriend out. We have a little day together. But at the end of the day, like if it comes down to it, if I have date night with the girl or an important meeting that could potentially earn me tons of money, I'm sorry, date night's getting pushed. Because that money's going to help the both of us.
I don't think that necessarily means that she's not your number 1 priority. I would say the same thing for me. But my girlfriend, like the reason I'm dating her is because she would understand that. She would be the first one to say, no, do your meeting. We can go out tomorrow night, right? So I don't think it has to be all or nothing. But
yeah, I don't think it's this or that.
Yeah, they just want you to communicate that ahead of time.
Do you think we're just arguing about semantics?
Yeah,
kind of.
I don't think we are, but
it's really hard. It's really hard to define this. Like, you know what they say? Like in philosophy, they're like words are a very, very poor way to get at the truth. It's like they're so inaccurate. It's like you'd have to be extremely precise, and we have to sit here for like 3 hours to really define what we mean and go down to like extreme specifics. Like, no, in this specific situation, that would be bad or whatever.
I do know what you
It
mean.
also
about
depends on the
Tony Robbins
people too. The people in the relationship. Some people are going to have different needs.
Mhm.
So.
It should take a very long time before your girlfriend is high up on your priority list, like before she's tied.
I
for the
agree.
number one spot.
I do think the red pill stuff does try to like downplay the importance of like putting
They
your
go too
girlfriend,
far.
Like,
They go
in-
too far. Like,
prioritizing
Right,
her.
well, but the
Yeah,
reason they go too far is because people push the other direction, which is why I wanted to talk about the Justin Baldini thing. Hold on, just before we get to that, this is just the way I look at the world. You guys can agree or disagree. Every girl is a 0 when I meet her. If we get to know each other and then I find out some bad shit about her, she's a -1. Like, let's say Travis Hunter's girlfriend, she's going to go down to a -1. If I date her for a while, then it turns out she comes over whenever I want. She brings peace into my life. She's a ton of fucking fun to hang out with. The sex is great. We get along and I feel happy when I'm with her. She moves up to a 1. She's a 1 for like 6 months, a year. She moves up to a 2. 10 is marriage. 10 is marriage. Here's what happens with most guys. They meet a girl they're not fucking and they're like, let me look for red flags. Bitch, you can't even fuck her. Like, why are you you're looking? I'm not saying don't ever look for red flags. Some of them are blatant and honest, but I hear too many men that are like, I need to get into a marriage right now. I am 29 years old. It's time for me to have babies because my fat aunt, who's an alcoholic, who's been divorced 3 times, is telling me at Thanksgiving dinner, I have to have children now. And they go into these relationships, they go into these situations with nothing but lack. They're inexperienced with women and they have nothing but lack. They're going into it. Just imagine if you got evicted from your apartment and you start looking for a new apartment, you're going to take the first apartment you can find because you need a place to live. These men are going into it. It's like, oh my God, I need to get into a relationship now. Instead of saying, I'm going to date all these girls. They're all at a 0. I don't hate them. I don't think they're hoes. It's just, they got to prove to me, just like you would with an employee at your company, they have to prove to me over 6 months, a year, 2 years that they're worth me giving a fuck about. But instead, what we do as men, because we all think we're fucking worthless, is we give a fuck about these women that have done nothing for us. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying the women are worthless. The women are great. We're great. Everyone's great. My point is, for me to care enough to start saying, I need to put her needs in front of mine. What has she done? Has she been with me for 6 months, been totally fucking cool? I say 2 years before you would even consider getting engaged to a woman. I think you need to know what it is exactly that you're dealing with beforehand. She earns that spot. Loyalty is an attribute. What they say in basketball, availability is the best ability. Her being available for you for 2 straight years, to me, that's a great attribute. But instead, what do we like? I have clients that come to me all the time. It's like, yeah, I met this girl, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just trying to figure out whether or not she has red flags. I'm like, have you gone on a date with her? No. Have you fucked her? No. And I'm like, why are you putting any energy into investigating it? Yeah, should she even know you exist? And I'm like, guys, listen to me. Don't worry about, just have fun attracting women. Get good at attracting women. Then when you find a good one who sticks around, she's been around 3 weeks, the sex is incredible, then okay, maybe I'll consider taking a look at her. Then it's 6 months. And then at 6 months, I'll be like, okay, maybe this is something I want to look into. Maybe this is something important. You motherfuckers, one date, it's like, you can see the babies you're about to have. Talking about wife and kids after one date. What is wrong with you? Have more self-respect. I think that's the problem. That's what I'm not red pill specifically, but I think that's what red pill was trying to say. Whether it's what most guys are doing. Men are fucking pitiful right now.
No, I agree with that part.
$6 billion going to OnlyFans. There are when Lily Phillips says, "I want to have sex with 1,000 guys,"
because there's a system. You have to keep in mind that most people are just kind of responding to environmental cues, and they're not super deep thinkers. It's the same reason why in the U.S. there's a lot of people are fat. I don't look at it and say they're pitiful because they're fat. I look at it and say the system in America for food is so fucked. People are getting all sorts of hyper palatable, nutritionless food shoved down their face. The food environment sucks. There's, the system that they're in affects a lot of their human health. And the same thing applies for dating. The system they're in is online dating, which kind of sucks. And Alex, you had a video on why it kind of sucks now too. The app sucks. Kind of sucks. I said and then they go out to bars and clubs.
No, hang on, that's wrong, man. I said the big 3 apps are starting to get shittier, but I didn't say. My conclusion was online dating as a whole is totally great. Or it's totally fine.
But if you compare it to 2015, it's they're just hyper monetizing the guys and not really doing that. They're fucking people over. Yeah. So the dating apps are getting worse. Then you go out and it's nightclubs and bars aren't as popular as they were in the 1990s and early 2000s. That's true. And then it's then there's high-speed internet pornography on everyone's phone at their fingertips. It's like feminism, and then they feel like they can't. A lot of guys have this innate fear, like, oh fuck, if I approach in the workplace, I'm gonna get written up. If I approach at church, I'm gonna get like kicked out of church. If I approach in this environment, like, it's just so hard for guys that it's like, what the fuck do they even do? And that's why we have a job. But it's like, I look at it as like it's like a system-wide thing. But then even beyond that, it's like, human beings, we're not like all meant to like fuck 300 people. Like, our brains are like wired to like talk to like a couple girls on our tribe and then like bang one and then have kids, like, and then stay with her for like 7 years, 8 years, raise the kids, and then kind of like,
and then you guys die.
Yeah,
bang double
and then you die of dysentery.
Dunbar's number.
Austin, I agree with you, man. I think it's happening at a very like deep level, like unconscious. I think that's our default setting. If you do not have the experience or like any sort of abundance mentality with women, you're just automatically going to be searching for a partner and want like children and settle down with this woman. Like, I really think that's the default. If you don't start to see it through like a woman's lens of abundance, how they have options all the time.
Yeah,
if you don't have options,
isn't it funny how for girls they can essentially go anywhere, it exists in any context, and get like, it's like they go on dating apps, they get like unlimited matches. Essentially, they go to bars and clubs, they get hit on. They go to like.
Nothing is easier than women getting sex. Falling off a balcony is harder than a woman getting sex. And I'm telling you right now, dude, consider this: 100 men lined up to fuck Lily Phillips. We keep talking about Lily Phillips, whether or not she was violated, like whatever Candace Owens says. What about 100 dudes? I'm not talking about anything ethical. What is going on?
If we said the same.
Men,
guys,
and then a thousand men are going to fuck Lily Phillips next year. 1,000 men are going to line up.
To this, like the first guy, he got a pretty good deal. Then, like
the
top,
he did not get a good deal, dog. He got 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
You don't want to be that 99.
Dude, 4 minutes in heaven is better than no minutes in heaven.
No, but here's the thing. I'll tell you one thing. I'll bet you 80% of the guys who fucked Lily Phillips, that's the hottest girl. 90% of the guys who fucked Lily Phillips, that's the hottest girl they'll ever be within their entire life.
Men, dude, this just shows that marketing works.
Men feel like they're pitiful.
Marketing works because you're talking about this, and then people are like, "Who's Lily Phillips?" in the comments. It's like, boom, marketing.
And then some of them.
I have to defy the marketing. If I heard about that story, I'd be like, I'm not going to talk about this whatsoever. Like, the best way to engage with YouTube content that you hate is not to leave a comment or downvote it. That's engagement. The best way is to just like click off the video immediately.
I don't even hate it. I think it's funny. I think it's kind of sad in a way, but I think it's funny. I don't see it as like a lot of people are saying that this is like, I think it's making a bigger deal out of it than it really is. Like, oh my God, this is the end of like family values or whatever. Just long.
I think what's getting to people, the red pill and stuff like that, is that she doesn't have tattoos. She looks like a English teacher. She looks like a traditional white girl. That's throwing everybody off. Like,
yeah, agreed. Totally. I think. Well, it's not that. I think it's throwing the tradcons off, not the red pill people. It's the tradcons who are losing their mind about this. They're the ones like Candace Owens who are there's some popping noise in the background. I don't know what that is. Somebody's popping.
Oh, my
something.
bad. I'm sorry about that. My bad.
Sorry. Yeah. So it's the tradcons who are the ones who are losing their mind about this, because just like what Scotty said, she looks like she could be on the Daily Wire. She looks like a Daily Wire contributor. Like, she's fair complexion, 23-year-old, long hair, this very sophisticated British accent. And then you see that she has no tattoos. Both of her parents are in her life. This is the way it wasn't supposed to be. I think what you said, Alex, is correct. This is maybe a little sad and it's funny, but people are acting like this is the end of the world. And the reality situation is some chick already banged 900 dudes in a day. This girl has got rookie numbers. She's not even close.
I want to quickly respond to what you said earlier, Michael, because I do agree with like basically everything you said except for the red pill part. But I think, yes, you are correct that it should take time for a girl to earn your attention, your priority, whatever. And too many guys are just like, they have sex with a girl once, or they don't even have sex with a girl. They go on one date with her, and she's already like their number one priority. The only part that I think I want to clear up on is you mentioned something about like after like however many 3-4 years, that her needs might take priority to yours. I would say like no matter how long.
Scotty, do you mind if you mute yourself when you're not talking and you're doing all that?
Yeah. There's a loud popping thing in the background, dude.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
I think no matter how long that you guys have been dating, her needs should never be priority to yours. They should be equal to yours, but not priority.
No, I agree with you. I'm saying what they were talking about is even considering it. I think the best thing for us as a couple is for the man to lead. So like that's the way I see it. But what I'm saying is even the consideration. These guys are considering parts of the family. They're considering children. They're considering matrimony. They're considering joint bank accounts with women they haven't even fucked yet. That's what I'm talking about. Like these guys are so far putting the cart above the horse, and they're doing so because they feel worthless. There's no reason women are not doing this with you. Why are you doing this with them, dude? They have way more options than you.
Well, some girls.
Is it that they feel worthless, or is it just that they have zero like experience and zero like
in this space they feel worthless. In this, not in general, not in life they feel worthless, but in this space, a man who's been divorced is 8 times more likely to take his life after he's been divorced. In general, in this one area, I think a lot of men, I would say the bottom third of men, which I don't think any of us are in that category, but the bottom third of men do feel worthless. Okay, I think again, well, here's the problem. If what I'm saying is incorrect, Lily Phillips should not be able to get 1,000 guys to line up and have sex with her. That shouldn't happen. And you know it will happen effortlessly. It will happen effortlessly.
Mike, okay, just
the number of men who watch.
Yeah, but I would say that I agree that a lot of guys do feel worthless, but I don't think that every single one of the guys that fuck Lily Phillips feels worthless. Like, I think some dudes are just into gangbangs, like, for whatever reason. It's just like a fetish. And for some guys,
I'd say 5 of the 100 of them are into gangbangs. I think the rest of them feel worthless.
It's a very high percentage of them feeling worthless, I would say.
Like, because here's the thing. The guys who like maybe do porn, they're going to get paid. She didn't pay any of them. No, I disagree. I think the guys who did that, this was the best they were ever going to do because they feel worthless.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, the idea of like, do we want to answer this question? Other dude's spooge in her vagina is like super gross. But like, if she was my type and like she was like Lana Rhoades or something like that, and I got to be the first guy, then like, and she makes it very convenient for me, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. I just wouldn't want to be the second guy.
I'm not sure you were getting choice. I think it cost some guy like $800 to go there or something. He travels from like South Africa. She would have to make it very convenient for me. Yeah,
I'd pay to be guy number 1,000.
You do it for the
clout. Can you imagine? Oh God! Like just even looking, she'd be all sweaty and gross, and her vagina would look like a fucking. Her vagina would look like a baboon's asshole. Her vagina would look like a baboon's asshole. It'd be all red and swollen.
I think
she'd be all fucking disassociated. Yeah, that's exactly, bro. Her eyeballs would be rolled back. She'd just be out of it, not knowing where she is. Bro, like, fuck that. That would be fucking horrible. Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
So many dudes come in her eye, fucking like.
Oh God, bro, I can't even stop. That's somebody's.
The thing that makes it the most horrible is the fact that she has no tits. I mean, I think that's the biggest issue there.
Thank you.
I wanted to say one last thing on the.
You're correct, Alex. That's correct.
I wanted to say one last thing on the screening for girls. There's something I give my clients. I tell them do the travel test. Basically, just go on a trip with a girl. It can be 2 days, 3 days, whatever. It doesn't have to be. You don't even need to fly. You can do a road trip and just see how she responds in moments of stress or when she's low on sleep. Because you can deceive people like pretty long term as long as you're like well slept and like feel okay. But if you're tired, a little hungry, a little cranky, there's some stress. That's when like the true personality can come out sometimes, and that veil of like deception breaks down. So you can see who a girl truly is. Because there's going to be moments if you're married to a girl for like, you know, the rest of your life or like at least 10, 20, 30 years, that those moments will come out and they could be a lot worse once you're invested in fully into a relationship. So you should see that right off the bat. And like, 100%. You know, even if you're seeing the girl for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, just take a 2-day trip somewhere, go camping, 100%. Whatever, and just see how she reacts to different situations. Like, does she yell at the people that with the luggage? Does she, you know, how does she treat you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Travel test is, I totally agree with that. Do you guys want to answer this question and then we can get to the Justin Baldoni thing?
A chubby man on X posted a pic of him bringing flowers on a first date, 400K likes, and women models encouraging him. Why if they aren't attracted to him?
This is a good question for Michael.
Fake appraisal. Like, what do they praise?
Let me explain the answer.
They're not going to fuck them is the answer.
Yeah. So the answer is this is I'm going to say the basis of the problem and then explain what the problem is. For men, we understand what attraction is more clearly than what women do. Women, for us, we can see a shape and then we can be attracted to a woman. For women, what'll happen is they'll say, I want a man to buy me flowers. What they want is a man they're attracted to buy them flowers. They'll say they want a man who is who's going to be vulnerable. What they want is a man who's attracted to them, be vulnerable. We'll go over that in the Justin Baldini thing. What they'll say is they want a man to be nice to them. What they want is a man who they're attracted to be nice to them. In this situation, what they're describing, be nice to me, bring me flowers, be more vulnerable, are things that build comfort in the relationship. They do not build attraction. So you're absolutely correct. What they're doing is they're looking at the fat guy bringing the flowers and saying, I wish my stud 6'4" boyfriend with this 9-inch cock would bring me flowers like this. Oh my God, I'd be so happy. What they're doing is that because this is the way it works. Whenever you do something that builds attraction in a relationship, you as a man are gaining leverage and she's losing leverage. This is why she says, don't like all those other girls' posts, or don't follow those other girls on Instagram. I don't like that those other girls come and talk to you. When you do something that builds comfort, you're losing power in leverage and she's gaining power in leverage. Get down on your knee, propose marriage, give a certain percentage of your income and put it into that inanimate object that goes on her ring finger. All these things that you do to build comfort. No, baby, I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm going to stay at home and watch Netflix with you and get fatter. Everything that you do that builds comfort, she gains leverage in the relationship and you lose it. And you have to do both. It can't just be all attraction. But the problem is women don't recognize attraction cues. If they did, they'd all be like, I don't know why I keep dating guys who treat me like shit, but they never do. I saw this one insane video. Did you guys see the 50 Cent video where it's a deep fake, where 50 Cent goes, men who want relationships with multiple women are just really insecure and weak. A true man wants to love one woman and only be with one woman. And the whole thing was a deep fake. None of it was real. And thousands of women were like, yes, 50 Cent gets it. I'm like, the motherfucker who wrote Pimp and Magic Stick said this, and there were no alarm bells that went off in your head. You wanted so desperately to believe this Chris GQ Perry cope that you actually went ahead and believed it. Because that's what women want. Women want to believe in this fairy tale. But in the fairy tale, the guy is always attractive. That's the difference. And for those of you who aren't attractive, all the advice that women give you doesn't fucking work. Go be yourself. Be more vulnerable. It doesn't work if she's not attracted to you. But women forget to mention that part. And that's why they give all these likes to things like this. Pay attention. Pay attention to what women do and stop listening to what they say, and you'll do a lot better.
I've never really looked at building comfort in a relationship. I feel like I don't consciously ever build comfort in a relationship. The comfort is when we first meet. So initially, but not later on. So
you have a dog, right? Does she love your dog?
My girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah, that's comfort. You're building comfort. You guys have a dog that you're raising there. That's comfort. That's a comfort.
No,
that's
not attraction. It's my dog.
Yeah, I mean that's the eternal.
Yeah, but she loves your dog.
Everyone loves my dog. You would love my dog too.
Of course. It would build comfort with me.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that
the infamous
before...
dog in every Tinder photo.
There used to be those romance novels,
right?
And in every single romance novel is this just absolute Chad of a man that's just super attractive in every single way. And she's like, oh my God, if only I could just, by being myself, just get him to commit to me and I could tame him. That's literally the female fantasy.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
But there are a million movies where the nerdy guy, Transformers, where the nerdy guy gets with the
right. But that's why they have to make movies about it, dude. That's why in Transformers, Shia LaBeouf is a weirdo date with Megan Fox. They have to do that to keep you buying into this nonsense. But Shia LaBeouf does several non-masculine things and ends up with Megan Fox. We see with the fucking Wolverine and which is the Deadpool. They made Deadpool a homosexual in the movie. He just consistently playing the role of a homosexual the whole time. It's they're literally just trying to demasculinize men. And that's fine if that's what you want to do, but just stop lying to me and act like that's not what you're doing. I don't mind if some dude's gay or wants to act feminine or whatever, but don't shame me because I don't want to act that way. That's the only thing that I'm asking. That's where I see these problems. And again, going back to the Justin Baldini thing, that's exactly what he was doing, and that's why I was so pissed about it.
Well, Mike, this is Chris GQ Perry's twin, but he's the dark twin.
You don't like a piece of meat, and you'll yeah, you know what the other problem is? The other problem is,
Michael,
the other problem is
Sex in the City, right? That.
Oh, what a great example!
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker. She's such
every dude,
big or whatever.
It's
ridiculous.
You guys, you remember? You guys know the show Suits? Who's the main character? Gabrielle Macht. Gabriel Macht plays like that dude's a really good looking guy. He plays Carrie Bradshaw's girlfriend in one of the seasons when he's really young, and I'm like, she could never get a dude like that. But the reason why is it's the same. But Scotty, you know what other ones? True Blood. Do you remember Sookie Stackhouse? How mid she was, and all the men in that show were just fucking super chads.
Bro, she was a fucking fairy, man. Have you ever tried fairy blood? It's pretty fucking good. Dude.
And then what's the other one? What's the one with the fucking wolf in the vampire? The Eddie, you know what I'm talking about? What the Team Twilight. Vampire and Team Wolf. What was the one? You know what I'm talking about? The Twilight shit. You remember the Bella in Twilight? Could you get a more plain looking chick in the world? And then who are the two main characters? Patterson and whatever the Taylor or whatever the fuck his name was. They're just super chads. And yes, because that's the female fantasy. I don't mind it being a female fantasy, but what I'm being told is I need to just be any sort of like me acting masculine is bad. That's why Californication got canceled, because it was showing a masculine man acting masculine, sleeping with lots of women because he felt like doing it. And so we had to get rid of that show.
Wait,
and if you
really
watch Suits, Californication, yeah, it got canceled a long time ago.
Like 6 or 7 seasons, right?
Yeah, they did 7 seasons. But like the show, but did you notice how the show went on? He became more and more monogamous to Cindy McElrone's character every season. They always
had to have him doing it.
He was always like,
do you remember in Suits? Do you remember in Suits? Like if you watch Suits in the very beginning, Harvey Specter, he's banging waitresses, he's doing this stuff. What is he doing at the end of the last 3 seasons? He's sleeping with 40-year-old age-appropriate women. Scotty and him graduated from college at the same time. He's with his secretary. The actress is 2 years younger than him. It's age-appropriate, older women. When you watch Suits, you see the main character, the what's his name? The Louis Litt character and his partner Sheila's ass. They're both 52 years old trying to have a baby. This show is trying to tell you 50-year-old women should be having babies. Date age-appropriate women. Like the idea that Harvey Specter
is that
would not
coming
be
from? Do you think it's the writers trying to like resonate with like the
they're
audience
catering to
demographic,
women.
or is it like something more sinister?
I think it's just
with,
purely
like, the
a
government?
cold-hearted business decision. I don't think it's like we need to program the public. It's like, hey, this is what's going to make people watch more.
Women watch more. I mean, they do it for guys. Let's be real. Let's be fair. Like they do it for like in a masculine show. They show a guy who's like a dopey, nerdy guy. Like in that show, How I Met Your Mother, like the Ted Mosby dude. He's dating women that are like, who's that wrestler chick that like got really famous? He's dating girls like her. He's dating absolute gorgeous models, and it's like that's the sitcom, but you know, it's catering towards men and women. So like they do it both ways, in my opinion.
But yeah, it's just the show is like, I'm just pushing back against the idea that it's like somehow like the show writers or the producers are like, okay, we need to push this agenda.
No, the show writers absolutely do push. The show writers absolutely do push the agenda that the male characters on the show need to be dating age appropriate women. Yes, they do.
But the reason they're doing
I've seen it done more though.
Is just purely for money, like because that's what's going to give views. Like they believe that.
I disagree. I disagree. I think they would get more views if Harvey Specter was banging supermodels.
Just cares about money and like popularity. Like they don't care. Like these big businesses, they're pretty like they don't give a shit.
I think it is a show. It is a show produced by woke people, produced in Canada, where it's extremely woke, and the ideology of the show became woke. It became because it didn't start off that way, Alex. It started off that Harvey Specter was a scoundrel, and by the end of the show, Harvey Specter is proposing marriage to his fucking 40-year-old secretary. Stop it. This show, it is not about money, dude. But nobody wanted to watch it. Everyone who watched Suits near the last 2 seasons was like, "What the fuck is happening to the show?" That's essentially what happened.
No, I actually
hold on. I want to point out something. Yeah. Mike Sartain believes everything women say. Bro, being a simp and building comfort doesn't work. I didn't say it worked, idiot. Bro, I don't understand. Do these people, can they not read or hear? Is English your second language? I didn't say it worked. That's not what I fucking said. God damn, these people are stupid.
Troll comments, we're just going to get completely.
Maybe he said it before you had time to finish. Do you guys want to talk about the situation that Michael was talking about earlier?
Let's do it. Can I really quickly want to just respond to what Michael said, and then we can move on. I guess we can just agree to disagree. Like I think that like Game of Thrones had the same issue. The last 2 seasons, everyone was like, "What the fuck?" But it wasn't because they went woke. It was just because the writing sucked. I think.
To be fair. No. The show was always going to have the women take over. That because George R. Martin wrote the books that way. To be fair, that Game of Thrones is a different issue. Yes, in Game of Thrones,
he wrote them. I read all the books. What do you mean the women take over?
Okay, in books 7, 6, and 7, which haven't come out yet, the ending is similar to the ending on the show, and in the ending, you'll notice all of the regions of the country are run by women, except for
George R.
Bran.
Martin has said directly in interviews that it's going to be very different than the show. There might be some similarities.
He in the end, Bran does become king. I don't want to get too far down in the weeds here, but no, they have notes that they got from George R. R. Martin when they produced the show, and the ending where he burns King's Landing, all that stuff does happen. Eventually, will happen in the books, unless he decides to change the books. That is the ending that he had prescribed.
He hasn't given away the ending. I'm a massive.
He 100% gave away the ending.
No, he didn't. You need to a rough outline. It's beside the point. I don't think we should be arguing about this.
He said it's going to be pretty different. He's going to say it's going to be different than the books. There's going to be some similarities, but that's about it. He doesn't give away endings. Like he hasn't. There's some hints that we know. We know that, for example, that Sansa.
Yo, what do you guys think about the guy Eckhart Tolle?
He's great. I love him. I read all his books. Why? He's great. What about him?
I just finished the Practicing the Power of Now last night. It's good.
Can I finish? Game of Thrones rant? This is like really
I read it 20 years ago.
Alex, I don't think we need to finish your Game of Thrones rant. Let's move on to the thing that Michael wanted to talk about.
Can I show my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. You're probably going to be pretty small. Is there a way we can make them like bigger so people can see it?
Can you guys see? Is that big enough?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
That's fine.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Justin Baldini is an actor on a show called what's the name of the show called? Does anybody know? It's something. It ends with us or some shit like that. So here's the question.
It was a movie, I thought.
It was a movie. Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. It's a movie. Justin Baldini, an actor and director, has been linked to an organization called Diverting Hate in a controversial manner. According to recent reports, Diverting Hate, a program funded by the United States Department of Homeland Security, allegedly used Baldini's content as part of a campaign to redirect viewers away from certain online influence. Diverting Hate reportedly placed targeted ads on featuring Baldini's Man Enough podcast on YouTube videos of certain manosphere content creators. The program's stated goal was to divert the audience away from what they deemed as wrong-think influences towards positive male influences.
You could just go on regular
approved. Here's the big one. Approved by the government. This initiative was part of a larger effort by Diverting Hate to combat what they considered online extremism and misogyny. The connection has come to light amidst separate controversies, including Baldini. I don't want to get with this. It ends with us. And then Rollo Tomasi, he also claimed that Diverting Hate was taking away some of the stuff from his channel. Anyway, that's not what's important. Let's talk about who Justin Baldini is. So I asked the question, what is Justin Baldini's advice for men? Since we're buying advertisement on different people's manosphere content. And by the way, I don't mind if you want to buy ads on my manosphere content. I get more AdSense. I don't mind. Here we go. Justin Baldini offers several pieces of advice for men when it comes to dating and relationships, focusing on redefining masculinity and embracing emotional vulnerability. I want to explain to you guys. The male model actor is telling you to embrace emotional vulnerability. Embrace vulnerability. Baldini encourages men to be brave enough to be vulnerable in their relationship. He challenges the traditional notion of masculinity by asking men if they are strong enough to be sensitive, willing to cry whenever with pain or happiness, and brave enough to reach out to other men when they need help. Listen and support women. Be confident enough to listen to women in their lives, hear women's ideas and solutions, and hold their anguish and believe them, even if it goes against the man's perspective. Believe them. If they say, hey, you cheated, but I didn't cheat, believe them because it goes against your perspective. Redefine strength and bravery. Baldini suggests redefining what strength and bravery mean in the context of relationships. He argues that emotional bravery is often more challenging than physical bravery. Bro, I was in the military. Fuck you, bro. Fuck you. Reach out when experiencing depression, anxiety, and relationship problem. Admit when they need help and recognize.
Michael, when you were in the military, were you ever worried that the enemy was more emotionally brave than you?
Bro, I did. Their emotional bravery was something that was very brave to go up against us. To build relationships, Baldini advises men to work on self-love and acceptance. He recommends looking in the mirror and affirming positive qualities, accepting one's body and appearance, recognizing physical attributes don't determine one's worth or likability.
Fuck that
the male model saying this. And then deep developmental vision develop emotional fitness, learn to sit with their feelings and emotions, process and understand their emotions rather than suppressing them, and recognize sensitivity and empathy, strengths, not weaknesses. Thank you to the Biden administration for buying advertisement on his channel, on my channel or on other content creators' channel, probably yours too, Alex, probably yours as well, to get Justin Baldini's effort. So now the next thing I had to ask is like, what is his advice on teaching men to attract women? I mean, we're not as good looking as him. So like, what would his advice be? Let's look at his advice. Justin Baldini does not focus on teaching men how to generate attraction in women. Instead, his message centers on redefining masculinity and encouraging men to embrace their authentic selves. Here are the key points to emphasize. Address areas of dissatisfaction in their life, where it's physical, appearance, social skills, or emotional well-being. Focus on becoming the best version of themselves, trying to fit into societal expectations of masculinity, even though women want masculine men, and pursue self-love and confidence, which may naturally make them more attractive. So if I pursue confidence, I'll be as attractive as Justin. Here we go. He challenges men to be brave enough to be vulnerable and strong enough to cry. Baldini encourages creating experiences that force vulnerability, even if it's uncomfortable. And he believes that displaying vulnerability can give other men permission to do the same. Use strength, bravery, and toughness to explore one's emotional inner self. You guys know where I'm going with this. Build authentic relationships of honesty, yada, yada, yada. Ready? You guys ready for the fun part? Because here we fucking go.
I know, but you don't have to scream, Michael. But yes, we're ready.
I'm going to scream a ton. Actress Blake Lively has filed a sexual harassment lawsuit against her It Ends With Us co-star and director Justin Baldini. Thank you so much to the Biden administration for protecting women from us manosphere creators by pushing our content to this fucking retard's channel. Thank you so much. Alleging toxic work environment and retaliatory actions. The complaint filed December 20th, 3 days ago, with the California Civil Rights Department included several serious allegations. Remember this guy who was telling you to be more vulnerable, to sit in a room and just deal with your pain, to be yourself, and just to develop levels of confidence? Lively accused Baldini of repeated sexual harassment and other disturbing behavior. The lawsuit alleges Baldini made up inappropriate improvisations, including unwanted kissing and discussions about his sex life. Lively claims Baldini and the producer Jeremy Heath showed her nude videos and images of women Michael, against her will.
He was a hypocrite.
The complaint, listen, trust me, your audience wants to hear this. The complaint states that there were discussions between Baldini and Heath alleged pornography addiction. Remember, guys, they're trying to push our channel away. We're the ones saying get off porn. This man is addicted to pornography, and the U.S. government, your tax dollars, went to pay for advertisements to take the traffic away from our channels to put to his channel. Lively alleges Baldini made inquiries about her weight and discussed her deceased father. Hostile work environment. Bro, we can go over this. This is the biggest... I'm sorry, guys. This is the biggest closed, open and shut case I've ever seen in my life. If you don't think that there's an actual movement to stop men from being masculine, after the American Psychological Association said that traditional masculinity is considered harmful, it's unbelievable. But here's the problem.
I don't even think you need like a conspiracy for it. Like the average human body size has gone up since the 1970s. That's basically tanking testosterone. It's like the primary reason for the tank of testosterone is like the average person is put on like an extra like 70, 80, 90 pounds. And like that literally the estrogen made by that decreases their testosterone. It's literally turning
there's also people that are promoting this stuff. Look, when I
saw aromatase, my bad.
Yeah, when I saw this, by the way, I've been following Justin Baldini for 2 years now. He has a podcast called Man Enough. The first time I saw this podcast, I was sick to my stomach. I'm like, this needs to stop, because it was a Man Enough podcast where it was 90% women watching it. He gets on every single time. He sits in a circle with a bunch of dudes, and they all cry. They cry in every single episode. It makes me sick. And then he's talking about being man enough. And then when he tells guys to do exactly what you said, when he's a male model, this doesn't actually help them. I didn't think I could get any angrier about this until you showed me that the Department of whatever is sponsoring him and paying for his advertisements. Like, that's ridiculous. Actually,
I don't know why this pisses you guys off as much. Like, this is so standard. There's a blue pill, feel good guy giving advice, and he's a hypocrite and he's full of shit.
No, Alex, I'll tell you what. Alex, I'll tell you
there's
why.
a reason.
Because we're being told that this isn't happening. We're being told that none of this is real. We're being told.
No, I get that it's happening and that ideas are part of the whole, like, the movement of making guys less masculine. But it's also like, I think there's the fact that people are so fucking fat. There's like plastics and fucking endocrine disrupting chemicals and basically everything.
I agree with all that.
Decreasing testosterone.
Austin, you missed the part about the Department of Homeland Security paying for advertisements on Manosphere content.
Yes, I don't think it's good.
The federal government pays for all kinds of
but you're trying to paint. You've brought up one example of something that's making men less masculine, but it's like there's a whole spectrum of things. There's also like the fact that men are not the primary breadwinners anymore. The average guy's like 200 pounds.
My point is, me telling men things to do to be more masculine is now harmful, and so they need to use my tax money to run ads against me. And I got news for you: they ran ads against all of you. All of you are here. They ran ads against you, and because here's the reason why I know. Here's the reason why I know. Did they, Lloyd? Did they do any research on Justin Baldini, or did it just seem like a good idea? What do you think? Do you think they did their due diligence on him?
No, of course.
Of course. Okay, hold on.
And they gave him money.
Good. So if they didn't do their due diligence on Justin Baldini, do you think they did it on us? Aaron Clary is on a fucking DHS watch list. Aaron Clary is a fucking economist, and he's on a DHS watch list because of the stuff he posts.
I know that guy. He wrote the book. He wrote books. He's like the Manosphere book guy. Yeah.
It's insane.
Women by the numbers, dating by the numbers. He's a men going their own way guy, right?
I think there's things that you say that I think are probably correct, but like if they really want to silence you, they would just ban you from YouTube. They would like stop you from talking. So
you mean like demonetize? Oh, you mean like demonetizing my channel for nothing? Is that what you're talking about, Alex?
Well, they
demonetizing my channel for nothing. I'm still waiting to hear why they demonetize my channel.
I'm not defending your channel being demonetized. I'm not a fan of that. I'm just saying that like they could kick you off YouTube, right? They could kick all.
Yeah, this is the guy. Aaron Clary is the guy. Is the book of numbers, analyzing the ROI and the pursuit of women. This book basically just like talks about how like expensive it is to date women, and like if you don't want to date women, you save a lot of money. It's like I don't.
He talks about a lot more than that. But the reason why we're
he's not making out.
He shouldn't be on any kind of watch list. If that's
I agree.
I'm not familiar with him. I'm just saying it's not quite as simple as like there's a organized effort to keep men from being like more masculine. I think it's a very complex thing, and there's a bunch of opposing ideologies and a bunch of opposing influences and power. So I'm just saying it's a lot.
Agreed. But one of the opposing ideologies is your fucking government. And that's not up for debate anymore. Not after I watched Megan the fucking Stallion dancing in front of Kamala Harris. Stop it. There's one force that doesn't want you to be masculine, and it is your government that you pay taxes to, and that's not up for debate anymore.
Why is Megan the Stallion twerking making men not masculine?
Okay, so a couple reasons. Number one, they had Cardi B on there. Cardi B was glorified for robbing a man who when she was a stripper. She rolled one of her customers and robbed it and told a story about it, and people applauded her for it because she was doing that. I know broke boys, they don't deserve no pussy. I know that's right. Their whole message is only men who are rich and will supplicate to women are the only ones that deserve sex with women. I'm a bad bitch. I don't need no man. That is the message that is being purveyed by Glorilla, by Megan the Stallion, and by Cardi B. And those are the women, along with fucking what's her face, Jennifer Lopez, who's up there making a movie glorifying women who end up robbing their customers at a strip club and warning us about the big bad orange man Donald Trump, while at the same time, bitch, when were you gonna tell us about Puff Daddy? You were dating him. It's insanity. I don't see the connection between like a government conspiracy. Let me finish so I can help you, Austin. Let me help so I can finish so I can help you see the connection. If I want to talk about bad bitch energy and I don't need no man, the literal spokesperson on planet Earth is Cardi B and Megan the Stallion, and that's who you chose to put that on there on stage, and they were crushed. 30% of African American men under the age of 30 voted for Donald Trump. That is the highest number since the Nixon administration. When they did so, they showed men that men were forgotten. Men started voting for Trump in droves. You can make up whatever cope you want to make about it. The Harris campaign chose to not remember men, and because of that, they paid dearly for it. And what I'm telling you is not only was that happening, they also used taxpayer dollars to take traffic away from manosphere content and taxpayer dollars, which services the American Psychological Association, and use that to write that traditional masculinity was harmful. I'm telling you, there are
but by your own, what you're saying is that those artists are what drove men to vote for Trump even more. So it kind of backfired for the.
No, I agree. I agree. I'm not saying it. No, Austin, we're talking about different things. You're talking about the result. You're talking about like the actual result of estrogens and the result of political campaigns. I'm not talking about the result. What I'm talking about is when I say that our government is deliberately trying to demasculinize us, I'm proposing different pieces of solid evidence to show that.
What would be a
saying it's
possible reason for why they want to do that?
Well, I mean, go ahead. You Lloyd. Talk about this. Okay.
So go ahead, Lloyd. You go.
Just to make people more easily controlled. I feel like isn't the military like more power, seeking like more fit people? Like they can't even find people that are like fit enough to serve now.
Yeah. No.
So why would the government want to demasculinize their entire populace?
Because they think the Democratic Party is run by women, minorities, and all of the above, right? So if
they're run by hedge funds as well, large hedge funds like BlackRock.
Yeah, Republicans are also controlled by special interests. So
we're not talking about left versus right. We're just talking about this one side, and this is the people who are promoting it. Okay, they have a vested interest into promoting these ideals, because if they do that, they will get more people on their side. That's why they're doing it. Now, maybe things will be different when Trump is in office. I don't know. I think the ideas will still be there. But what I think is important that our audience needs to understand is that they are being programmed by the stuff that they see. They are seeing things that's telling them a message. And it's important that they consume content so they can be educated to actually do the right things that's going to make them successful. And this Justin Baldini guy is an example of a guy who is not helping men out, who is actually being promoted.
Yeah, I would just
by
say
our government.
The question I asked was, what's the rationale for them wanting to do this? You said the only rationale you gave was they want to get more voters.
Whoever after this,
yeah, they want to get more voters to their side. Okay. They want more people who are going to vote blue because.
So, but the premise was
Austin, I have an answer
we're
for you.
demasculinizing the entirety of the United States. So, Michael, what is your
okay?
Not even yours, but what do you think their rationale is? I'm kind of neutral.
So beforehand, I made several videos saying that the number one reason why manosphere and red pill content was being ratioed was because it was causing Hispanic and Black men to consider voting Republican for the first time. And I was completely correct. Completely. 41% of Hispanics, and most of them who had traditionally voted Democrat, voted Republican in this last election. I said that they would double the number of African-American men who voted Republican, and they did double it. I said that was going to happen. And there was
I get the connection.
I said the reason why they didn't want this content out there, and I called it the Myron Gaines effect, was because it was causing African-American men who wanted a family, who wanted a traditional lifestyle, who were tired of listening to Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion telling them that they ain't shit because they don't have money. They were tired of that, and it was going to backfire and cause these men to consider voting another way. And that's why this content was shut down. So yes, it was for votes. And then number two, like you said before, it's much easier to control a population when these men are demasculinized. It's much easier to get them to go along. It's much easier to,
and they're not going to defend their own opinions and stuff.
Yeah.
So okay. Correct. So if I were to steel man your argument, it would be that because
I'm just going to talk now. Okay. So I don't want to turn this into like a political debate, but you see hypocrisy on both sides of the political aisle. Republicans are just as hypocritical as Democrats are in a lot of ways.
Sure.
It's worse. The second thing is, I think the reason that Kamala had Cardi B on or whoever isn't because she's like, oh, this is the message I want to push. It's simply because she said, hey, I want to get her fans to vote for me. It was a purely calculated. You can make the argument that Kamala should have known better and not been on the same platform as Cardi B.
I totally disagree. Alex, you clearly did not watch her interview on Call Her Daddy. What you're saying, I respect the fact that you think that it is not accurate. It was a Call Her Daddy interview. She goes on there and she goes, exactly. Do you guys know any law that where they regulate a man's body? And they just sit there and look at each other like,
Yeah, she's
It was
doing
just all about
podcast.
reproductive rights.
Yeah, she's doing what every
Yeah, it's like the
politician
draft,
does.
like selective service,
She's
motherfucker.
doing what every single politician
so-
does, which is trying to appeal to the audience so they can get more votes. This is
So let me steel man Michael's position. It's that they understood that they were kind of losing the male vote, so they started to try to condition men and kind of brainwash them to be in a position where they're sympathetic to
some
the
of that,
Democratic
yeah.
side.
Yep,
And
there
I
was some of
think
that, yeah.
I think if your argument is correct, Michael, this is going to get way, 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 way worse because they're no longer getting the illegal immigrant vote once the voter ID thing gets like mandatory.
Illegal immigrants
No,
cannot
because the Democrats like
Wait, can you agree
rely
that illegal
very
immigrants
heavily
can't
on
vote?
non-voter
No,
ID.
we can agree that Chuck Schumer said that he has a plan enacted to try to get all those illegal immigrants
have
to be able to
never
vote.
Illegal immigrants.
Yeah,
have
so
never
if
voted.
that if voter ID becomes a mandatory thing to vote, then we could see this becoming even more strong because they need to convince more and more men that are disenfranchised with that party to vote for them.
Yeah.
Both
There's another
parties-
thing that happens
Both
too
parties
that I want.
are going to be pretty.
I'm like super logical, so if you just said that like that one sentence, I would have gotten it immediately. I don't need like a ton of examples. I'm like a robot. You could just be like,
Don't they do
this
that
is the
in jail
logical
too?
essence of the
They-
argument.
I didn't
just
sound
think
They
like-
docile the men in
You
jail.
just put
too,
this on
so.
the left, like both
Exactly.
sides.
They're
Both
trying to
sides try
docile
really, really hard
Yeah.
to convince people, and they will lie and they will talk. They will be hypocrites.
Agreed. I don't disagree with
Get
you.
people to
But
vote.
that's not what we're talking
Not
about.
just the
We
liberal-
started
I'll
out
make
talking
a
about
takeaway for everyone. Here's a takeaway we can all take is that you are constantly being brainwashed and influenced by things around you. So you should be very careful of what you're being brainwashed with. So you should
Yeah,
get
and-
very, very high quality information from a source that you trust that's going to lead you in the right direction. And most of that should obviously not be political because politics, it would take you 10 years to figure out the truth behind one thing that happens. So
Yeah.
focus most of your energy on things that are within your control, within your, realm of influence, sphere of influence. So like, your health, your wealth,
Austin.
your relationships.
Austin, I will say one further thing when it came to the strategy, the political strategy. They did not forget about men. It's the struggles that men were talking about in these spaces. They infantilized them. They act as if they didn't exist. There's a great book on this called Of Boys and Men, written by Richard Reeves, and Scott Galloway talks about this often. It's a very, very concise thing that's happening. It's not that academia is disrespecting the fact that men suffer. They don't even admit it's actually happening. You tell if we were to go right now and do something where we're like, hey, we're trying to figure out the reason why men commit suicide after they get divorced 8 times more and why they're more likely to be a function of homelessness. If we were to have a course of that at Berkeley, we would be kicked off of campus. We're not even allowed to.
Yeah, isn't it
discuss the idea that
crazy?
men
Like
suffer.
the ethics of that too. It's like you should have a concern and like a general welfare for like a fellow human being.
Yes.
And by
But they
by
don't.
not
They
giving
don't.
a fuck about men, you're literally saying that half of the entire human race doesn't matter to you.
They
And
think-
I
think
there-
that
the
if by
one
supporting
weird
men-
part that I found from that, like some of these, like I watched one Manosphere documentary, is basically like this idea that men are expendable, and when you look throughout human history, that's what it is. Men are sent to
Agreed.
wars. Men are sent to do the
Yes.
dangerous jobs. Men are viewed as expendable, and yeah.
They
The
think
part-
that by
the
supporting
ironic-
men,
the
that
ironic
they're
thing is
actually
that
not
men
supporting
struggle-
women.
Wait, let me just get this point across. The ironic thing is that men's struggles will not be in any way affected whether Trump is in power or whether Kamala's in power. Men's suicide, all of men's issues will stay exactly the same. Any politicians do not give a shit about men's issues. I think it's cute that some people think that like, oh, Trump is going to
The counter argument to that would be
disagree.
that Trump
I
would
disagree.
influence culture in a way that would be positive for men.
Yeah, and the other counterculture, the other counter thing is men who are giving other men good advice are going to stop being deplatformed and stop being ratioed. So I disagree with you, Alex.
How is he?
I
How,
absolutely
how are they
disagree.
gonna stop? How are they going to stop being deplatformed? Trump does not control YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, but
He literally- so
He gets to a point
who's
who's the Department of the
Have you not seen the video? Like he's literally coming out and saying that they're going to hold these platforms accountable if they suspend your account, that you have the right to appeal and you have the right to. And before you say that, Alex, he lost his motherfucking account. Before you say he's a narcissistic psychopath, this directly affected him and it affected Elon. So they are going to do this. They are going to protect.
You really think that when Trump comes into power, that if you or I get our
Lloyd, can you pull up the video? No, we're not only do I really think, I absolutely know.
Trump gives a shit about small, medium-sized content creators. Like this whole thing is absurd. Like these.
Well,
these
I think
platforms-
freedom of speech as an ideal is something that's important.
Yeah, well, it's
like,
it's absurd that our government is sponsoring like this Justin.
I don't know. I just don't understand how you just saw what I showed you and you think I'm wrong. That's fucking crazy. One side is clearly trying to.
It's direct evidence.
What do you think? What do you think that I think you're wrong about?
That Donald Trump wouldn't do a better job of trying to allow us to speak our mind.
At the very minimum, he wouldn't
party.
sponsor. He wouldn't sponsor.
He was in power for 4 years. And explain to me what changed during those 4 years.
Not that.
I mean, I could come up with some other stuff, but
yeah. So
he didn't. I'll tell you what changed. 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 He lost his Twitter. He lost his Twitter. That's what changed. He lost his Twitter.
You think because of that, he's going to be emotionally involved enough to give a shit about small and medium-sized content creators getting deplatformed?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
absolutely. And by the way, not only do I think it's a winning argument for him. I think it's a huge winning argument for him too. So politically, if he is a narcissistic psychopath, let's just say he's a completely, totally vapid of empty,
he's
horrible human
being. Money from social media platforms. He took like 100 million.
The problem is, if that is the case, it still affects him. And so for him, he's not trying to shut them down. He's saying for what's going to happen from now on is that if you put someone like what they did to me, they deplatform or they demonetized me, didn't tell me why. From now on, you have to give me a reason. You have to allow me to appeal. And if you want to just say straight up, listen, your content is conservative. We don't want conservative content. As long as you admit that to me, I got nothing to say. It's First Amendment. You can.
Dude, and now they don't tell you anything. They just.
That's my point. Thank you, Austin. They don't tell you anything.
Yeah, I think that's super gay. I'm not.
And he specifically said he was going to change that.
Nothing changed during the first 4 years he was president. I don't see why these 4 years would be different because he lost his Twitter. Because he lost his Twitter. I think he might care about getting his own account back, but that's about the extent of it.
No,
he got his own account back.
Other people too, dude. So let's talk about something that's not associated with political parties or Trump or whatever. Let's just talk about men as a whole. Okay, what is masculine? Masculine is leadership. Masculine is getting people to follow you. Feminism, the feminine is following. Now, what works better for society? If you being a leader or you following? The person who follows. So it's the benefit of the mainstream. It's the benefit of governments. It's the benefit of large organizations to get people to follow more. So masculinity in and of itself is a threat to large societies who want everybody to cooperate, who want everybody to follow in line, who want everybody to do what they say, to follow the commercials, to listen to Justin Baldoni's podcast. These are the things that are helpful for society. But having ultra masculine men is not helpful because they start doing things that they don't want.
I think corporations just go where the money is and where public sentiment already is. You saw this with Bud Light. They did that commercial with that trans person, and then it backfired, and then went right back to doing like their typical type of advertising. I think corporations only care about money. They don't care about actually public opinion. They don't care about culture, and they'll just go where the money is. And sometimes they make the wrong decisions. But yeah, that's what
it's a mixture of corporations and government. Both of it. Once you get to a corporation that's large enough, yes, they do want you to follow and do want you to obey.
Lloyd, what's an example that because you said they don't want masculine men to do things that they don't want. What would be an example of these guys? Everyone's got like 1,200 nanograms of testosterone per deciliter. What are they afraid that people are going to do? Start a revolt or what?
Well, just if you're an organization or you're a government and you want people to follow rules and you want people to do everything that they're told, then yeah,
you want them to basically just supplicate and follow. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it just makes your life easier to get people to do that. If you have people who are loudmouth on a podcast talking about how men need to do this and disrespect authority, it's just not beneficial.
The government has a monopoly on violence. People have no power against the government. They have a monopoly on violence.
If everybody in this country listened to one episode of a podcast and decided, hey, today I'm just like, we're all not going to pay our taxes, like that would cause a huge issue. Yes, they could enforce them with the military and the government, but it would cause a huge issue. I'm not saying that like we would all rise up and overthrow the government. It just makes them harder to get things done. It's easier if we obey.
Yeah,
it costs more money and more resources to get them to do the things that we want if we are resistant to it. If we actively disobey. I see
the point you're making, and I'm not even entirely dismissing it. I just think it's way more complex than that. The government is not just like one entity. There's three.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
They have thousands and thousands of people, and they all have different agendas. There's some people who are liberal, some people who are conservative, some people who are in the middle, some libertarians. They all have their own agendas, and they're all trying to like kind of climb to the top, and they're mostly competing against each other so they can climb that kind of climb.
Right. So I've noticed though trends as you get bigger and bigger with governments and corporations, they all benefit from people just obeying their commercials or doing what they want. They all tend to benefit as you get really, really big. If it's smaller, then I agree. There's a lot of differentiation, but like in general, in the mainstream, I've seen them lean a certain way, and the certain way that they lean is like, hey, believe what we say. Don't step out of line. Do the things that you're supposed to do. That kind of stuff, and that kind of conflicts with masculinity, because masculinity is inherently risk-taking and disobeying.
I don't really see that as a conflict, honestly, but I guess we could agree to disagree.
Sure. Sure.
What's the next thing that we're going to cover?
Oh, yeah. I was just looking at the title is Pickup Value Panel, and we're like, all right, here's how BlackRock is using the score to influence politics, to demasculinize. It's like we're going deep down some rabbit holes.
Yeah, but I just want people to pay attention to what they're seeing. Like you have your own.
So Lloyd, we haven't all done psychedelics like you. We can't see behind the matrix.
Let's.
Okay?
Alex, can I do this?
To stay informed and just vote and vote.
Alex, I'm gonna. So you don't believe him? Can I just play the video?
Believe what specifically? What do you think I don't believe?
What Donald Trump said. I'm going to play exactly what he said on this.
I believe that Trump says it. I just don't believe he's actually going to do anything about it. Because he says a lot.
Okay, I mean, you want to let other people check and see whether they not believe him? Let's listen. Okay.
Well, I think everyone believes that he said it.
I can't hear any of the audio.
You got the audio on too.
Something's wrong. Oh, you know what it is? My bad, dude. I'm sorry. With StreamYard. No, the way it works is StreamYard. I have to put it in. What's it called? It has to be a tab in StreamYard. My bad, guys. I apologize.
Michael, just to clarify, like I totally believe that he said it. I just don't believe he's going to do anything about it. That's the difference.
Let me see here. Stop sharing window.
The majority of politicians say a lot of stuff they don't do, especially Trump.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do have a point there, Alex. Like during COVID and everything, a lot of accounts were suspended. Like RFKs got taken down and stuff
that's
like that. So
dude, no, that is a hilarious thing for me. RFK is like talking about how we should like remove fluoride from the water in America, and people are so retarded. There are literally some people out there that are saying, "How can we re-add fluoride to our water?" Like they're literally like thinking about buying fluoride to like add to their water before they drink it. Even though drinking fluoridated water has been conclusively shown to decrease IQ in children up to like 3, 4, 5 points.
By the way, just a side note, I ideally completely agree with you. Like I would go as far as like threatening the big tech companies that if they're not going to be fair, that they're going to use their license to be a public utility. Like I would go much further in actually controlling the tech companies. It's just that no one government does that because they take money from tech companies. But go ahead, Michael.
All right, let's hear what you have to say here.
Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America.
We don't have to go any further than that, but that's my point. You're going to say, hey, you don't believe him? I do. I think when he lost his Twitter account, when he was the president of the United States, I think that if you think he's the worst human being in the world, I think that was enough trauma to cause him to act. And if that's true, then I voted for the right person. Just for that one issue, I vote for the right person.
Hopefully he does actually follow through on this. I think the chances like probably close to 0%. I'd be happy to make a bet like $200, $300 that if he actually does follow through on this during his 4 years in office and he enacts some kind of an act that forces the social media companies to give people due process or not just randomly ban accounts, then I will happily lose that bet. But I just don't foresee that happening. He took way too much money from TikTok and trying to control tech companies has been something that's been going around Congress for a very, very long time, and nothing ever happens to it because the tech companies just put too much money into too many people's pockets. But
my response is this is his second term. He can't be reelected, and he's a billionaire.
He was a billionaire when he became president,
and he needed to get reelected, so he needed. I
think he made a lot of mistakes then. But anyway, what I wanted to also say about this is like, okay, so we've been arguing a lot about politics too. But like at the end of the day, this is about men learning how to be men and where they're getting their information from, right? And so if we're getting our information from online sources, there's also other ways that men are learning how to be men too. One of the things that Dr. Robert Glover talks about in his book is that when men grow up, when they're in school, what do they learn how to do? What's the number one thing that men learn how to do in school? They learn how to follow directions. Do they learn how to think for themselves? Do they learn how to create something, a business?
I don't know, man.
Make
like
change?
when I went to school, like they did teach us how to think for ourselves to some extent. Like
how did they teach you how to think for themselves? Yourself?
We do like a lot of exercises where it would be like, okay, how would you solve this problem? Okay, here's the issue. How would you solve it?
And there was a right answer and there was a wrong answer of the time.
Yeah,
Some of the time they let you have an open answer, but guess what you would get? You would get a grade for your solution. So you were already learning how to follow directions and say what other people were saying. And I agree. There are some classes where you learn how to think for yourself. There are some courses that you can take where you actually have to create something. They are very few and far between. 99% of the stuff that you do in school is filling things out on a piece of paper, trying to get the right answer. 99% of the thinking that you do is hoping that you have the answer that the teacher wants you to have, or the standardized test, or whatever it is. So throughout our lives, we are taught as men to follow directions, to not get in trouble, to not make any noise. We are taught how to not be a man, in my opinion, throughout our lives, through parenting, through school. And then after college, when we're already supposed to be a man, now we have to learn how to attract women when we can't even learn how to not follow directions for 1 second in our life.
I don't know. My parents never taught me how not to be a man. I think this comes down to just the parents you have. But like, what's the solution then, Lloyd? Like, what? Not have public school or reform public school? Like,
well, I think what we're doing now helps. I think challenging that also can contribute to men starting to think, hey, all that stuff I learned in school, if that actually hasn't helped me start a business, or that actually hasn't helped me get women, maybe I'll need to learn other things or other skills that aren't associated with that.
Yeah, sure. I think it's good to learn other skills, and I think it's good to think outside the box. I think that's valued. Maybe we just had a different experience, but when I was growing up, I went to high school 2004, 2008. I was never discouraged from thinking outside the box. Maybe I just got lucky with my teachers. I don't know. My parents always encouraged me to think outside the box. So I don't know.
But you got grades for tests. You wrote a paper and your teacher gave you a grade. And if it didn't say what the teacher wanted in a way that she wanted, then she gave you a worse grade.
They would test it based on how good I am at writing, and also how good my arguments were. It wasn't like I wrote a paper on how this one got an A about how JFK was actually assassinated by the CIA. I got an A. That can't be a popular mainstream opinion. So I don't know.
Maybe we did go to different.
It's pretty popular mainstream opinion now. It's pretty popular now.
It wasn't at the time.
Maybe we went to different schools, dude. If I had written that paper, I would have gotten a D.
No, so I'm gonna comment on this too, because I also went to school. There's the textbooks that they write it in a way where you start to view your government in a certain way, you start to view society in a certain way, you start to internalize the different ideals. And there's even this history essay that we were assigned. It was basically asking, what did FDR do to end the Great Depression? They're basically framing the government as the thing that ended the Great Depression and FDR's choices.
Right, exactly.
And I literally, because I know economics, I literally wrote everything that FDR did prolonged and exacerbated the Great Depression. That's why it lasted so long. And I wrote an entire essay on that. And I actually did get a good grade on it because I defended every argument that I made. So
I guess that's the debate.
But for the most part, no one else did it in the class like that. I'm a crazy person because I think outside the box. but they ask you leading questions in a way where they're like, oh, it's almost like they're selling you on it, right? Like, oh, so what did the government do to help this? What did this do? That, you know, they ask you leading questions in a way to tell you to kind of brainwash you, because when you write something down, it's commitment consistency bias is what it is. But I mean, it's obviously a gray area too, because you're also learning critical thinking skills. You're also like seeing what you can take from reading a large portion of text and distill it down. But yeah.
There are sub-subjects that are important. I think math, you can't really fuck with math. You can't really fuck with physics. That's why I majored in physics, and I have a degree in physics, believe it or not.
So they're
University of Santa Barbara. Not that I fucking use it today, but
trans women who want to cut their dicks off, but 20% of them decide not to follow through on the dick cutting out process. How many total dicks do you have that are removed?
Some trans LGBT
That's
math.
really good math. Really, that's really important.
LGBT physics.
I think learning how to speak to strangers should be part of the curriculum. Like shit like that we're starting to do, or speed dating, whatever. I think it should be part of the curriculum. Learning.
Yeah,
how to
I
speak
think they
to
would fuck it
strangers.
up if they taught it though.
Yeah, no, probably for sure.
Yeah, but you're dealing
how
with
many
teachers who
letters
don't know
are
how to
involved?
talk to strangers.
You're what?
You're talking about teachers who don't know how to talk to strangers, teaching people how to talk to strangers.
It's funny. Well, but my point of this whole thing is, and the reason why I wanted to go down this road is because we were talking about like being programmed by what you read in the media, being programmed by the podcasts and things that you listen to. I think the programming has started when you're very, very young. And I think guys learning that that's what's happening to them and it's being programmed in a certain direction where it's not teaching them to actually be successful with women is important.
Well,
I
Lloyd,
think
do
the
you think
average
it's
guy
possible
who
that just people, when they're very young, they're very permeable and they're very open to the surrounding things they hear? Like,
and most of the stuff that they're hearing is leading them in the direction of not being more masculine. It's leading them in the direction of not questioning things. It's leading them in the direction of following stuff. I think the average guy who goes through school, is a good little boy, studies for his tests, watches the news every single day, that guy's a fucking incel. You know, he's probably not.
Dude, I have the perfect quote for this. It's a
I went
Terrence
to
McKenna
school.
quote.
I got good grades. I'm not an incel.
I got good
this
grades
is about
too,
thinking
but I'm
outside
saying-
the box.
Okay,
Psychedelics are illegal not because a loving government is concerned you may jump out of a third-story window. Psychedelics are illegal because they dissolve opinion structures and culturally laid down models of behavior and information processing. They open you up to the possibility that everything you know is wrong.
Yeah. You can't question.
Which also could cause you to jump out of a building. That's the problem.
All right, so I'm going to jump off, man. It was good. It was good you guys having me on the stream. Appreciate it,
for
man.
sure. I think we're coming in 2 hours. So we're
guys,
gonna
have a
wrap
good
up
night.
probably anyway.
Do these usually go this long? I haven't made it this far.
No. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up?
I just wanted to pull up the Zach Justice clip, just so some like interesting game we could give our thoughts on it for the last thing, if you guys want.
Let's do that next Monday.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll post in our chat so we can get it ready.
All right, cool. Appreciate
Anyway,
you guys.
appreciated the disagreement, Alex. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, no worries. I like disagreement.
Yeah, it's okay. You're just wrong, Lloyd.
No big deal, bro. But like, if you were in a situation where you found tranny dicks, you'd be totally way off.
Yeah, I would get that math problem wrong.
Fuck, dude. I wish I did that math class.
All right, guys.
LGBTQ math.
Appreciate you all. Big thanks to all the guests for coming. We'll see you guys next Monday. Take it easy.
All right,
Cool.
later.
See you guys.